Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as AKA Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you as always with the love and the honor of the infinite creator, and I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe, and that you will learn to be aware of things like snakes at your front or back door. Hey, Travis. So, you know, crazy critters doing crazy things, and I almost got it on videotape, but as I was trying to come in the house to get my camera to videotape this, because it happened right outside of my yard. Um, Walk outside with my friend. She goes, "Snake!" And I went, "Ooh, yeah, there was a snake." So she goes to her car, and well, towards her car, and I'm like, "Hang on, it looks like a moccasin." And when you live down here in South Georgia, you have to be aware of those kinds of things. And I'm like, it's brown, and it had not really a thin body, but kind of chunky, and not real long, but its head was wrong. So the first thing I do before, like kill the snake. Now, as I was going through a couple of things trying to identify, exactly what the snake was, for my own benefit, because I'm like, I'm not sure. So, so she goes and, we say goodbye, and I'm keeping an eye on the snake, right? Now, I got 7 cats now. I started out with 2 at the beginning of this year. And with all the new babies and everything, there are now 7, right? So, anyway, there are several of them that are out there. Hey, Teresa. So, there are several of them out there, and they're playing the literally sneak up on it and tap it and then jump back, you know. And I was like, let me go get my camera. And I was like, well, where is it? So I'm watching because I want to see what happens with these cats and the snake, because it's maybe 4 foot if I stretched it out, but it's at least three and a half, right? So it's not doing anything nasty, bad, or trying to, get at me, or it's not trying to snap at the cats who are uncannily it, they knew where the front was. Okay, so they knew that the front, had the head, and even though it was very still laying there in the grass, from an observation point of view, I'm like, wow, no, what? And I mean, the cats that were playing with the snake are this year's cats, right? So, okie dokie. I'm watching what's fixing to happen, and I'm expecting at any moment one of these cats to just jump straight up in the air, which did happen, by the way. But so the one goes up, and it seems to know there was like this invisible force shield that the cat crept up towards the nose of this snake. Now, this just happened a couple hours ago, okay, and I just had to tell you, right? So, but the cat sneaks up and gets to like this invisible barrier with its nose and will not go any closer to the snake. Now, at the same time, one cat's at the nose of the snake, and at the same time, there's another one on the backside of the snake who's getting a lot closer because he or she, I don't know which one it is, but anyway, knows that cat number 2 knows that I guess maybe that the other cat's got the nose part right, and so does the just like you would see in the wild. My front yard is the wild, but the cat sneaks up and goes to touch the back of the snake and hesitates, and the one in the front, is like this invisible barrier where it just seems to know not to get any closer than about this far, right? And nose to nose, but it would get right to this point and it just would back up. It was like magic, right? So I'm like, what the heck is this, right? So I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, now this doesn't take very long. This is taking about a minute, right? So where's my camera? Well, it's in here. Well, is the battery charged? And I'm not sure. Does it have a memory card in it? Oh crap, I don't know. Well, so then if I came in the house and got the camera, looked for the memory card, and got back out there, I'd have missed this, right? So the best I could do is like, let's see what happens. So the cat in the back of the snake decides to, touch it. Well, the snake jumped up about this high off the ground. The whole thing just like burst up off the ground and then back down. And both cats literally jumped in opposite directions like cats do like that. And I about peed myself, right? So while this is going on, I'm trying to get close enough to the snake just to see. Let me look at its head. What are the colors? What does the body look like? How long is it? Without disturbing it, because I mean, I knew it wasn't a moccasin right off the bat, but I couldn't identify it as to what other kind of snake it was, especially right outside my door here, right in the grass, but close enough to the door, right between me and the truck, closer to the truck. So, which makes me to realize that, although I'm in and out of the house and around the house and stuff a lot, one minute there's nothing there, and then you look out in the yard and you go, snake. So, for whatever reason, it's like, okay. So, um, I'm looking at the snake, and it's not a moccasin. So now these two kitty cats are still at opposite ends. The black one at the nose and more the white bellied one in the back, and they do it again. It takes them a minute. They get a little close and they back up. Hey, Hawkeye, Niall, Mel, Teresa. If I missed anybody, hi everybody. So this is a true story of what just happened a couple of hours ago. So out in the yard, this long, large snake, and from the looks of it, I would have mistaken it as a moccasin. But knowing about natural things and stuff, I realized, by looking at it, it wasn't. But now, so two kitty cats are now tampering with this thing. So, and again, I'm like 6 feet away, maybe, from where it's sitting in the yard, and cat number two, white belly, touches the tail end of that snake again, and the snake leaped again. It didn't like come up and then, but it was so fast it looked like the whole snake just jumped straight up out of the grass and then back down towards number one cat, the black one, or the more black one. And then the snake made a beeline straight towards me. Now there's a whole yard, there's a whole other place it could go, but it came towards me. And I'm like, okay, it's going to turn any moment now. Now, this only takes about a couple of seconds. I mean, I'm like, number one, it's coming towards me. What the hell? So I've got this spray bottle in my hand that I use to spray mosquitoes that are around me. And all I could do was like, it's coming at me so quick. All I could do was put the spray bottle down. It went right between my legs. I backed up to the door, and the snake was like beating at the door with its nose. And I'm like, dude, you cannot come in my house. And it was persistent. That it was underneath my legs, didn't try to bite me, didn't try to do anything. I'm like, man, you. And I took the bottom of the spray bottle and put it down in front, like, no, you got to go somewhere else. You can't go in my house. And so it wiggled around the side of the house to the back. And I'm like, so in a way, maybe I should have been terrified, right? But I knew that it wasn't a moccasin. And so that right there, but the fact that it came right at me with all the other choices in the yard, but to come in my direction and towards the back door. So I was thinking, after all these years of being here, this is the wettest it's been, right? I mean, consistently for the whole year, it's been wet. And we've had more rain today again. And so I'm thinking to myself, what I wrote in as far as the description, there is, I found out, looked it up, and it's a brown water snake. It's a river snake. It's common around here. I have seen them down on the river, but technically the river is, several hundred yards and, 200 yards and back behind me. And so I have seen snakes in the yard, but not in a long time. Usually, if I'm out back and along in the trees, there are oak snakes, rat snake kind of thing, and they're around all the time. And I'm kind of used to them. Uh, in the spring, I think it was, there was a small snake that got wrapped in the fan out here, and I had to unwrap it. But this snake was good 3.5, 4 foot long, and but it was. Wait, I bookmarked it. Let me make sure I got the name right. But in checking for this snake, it's the brown water snake, is what it is called. Um, Erythrogaster. That maybe. See you all later. Just dropped in. Yeah, this is just a true story about today. But um, good to hear from you, Teresa. Was a snake black and brown, about 5 feet long? It's mostly brown. I mean, it very much resembles, from all appearances, from looking down on it, kind of thing. It looks like a moccasin. I mean, it's sort of fat bellied, but it's at least three. It's at least 3.5. Okay. If I'd have stretched it out, it might have been closer to 4. But I'm trying to be conservative because it was coiled up, and um, but it was different looking. So, but the very front, the nose and the head is black, and there's this orange yellow under its chin, but it only goes about this far, and the rest of the snake is brown. And that's what was throwing me. I was like, because I got a chance to look at it, and I was like, well, there's the marking, there's the head. It's not real big for the size of the snake. If it had been a moccasin, it had a great big old head. There would have been no mistaken, and it probably would have been hissing at the cats. You know what I mean? This one was just minding its own business, trying to go somewhere. But anyway, in thinking about how wet it is in the backyard, I was thinking to myself, here, this poor little snake come up to my door, for refuge from the wet, and if he had arms, he'd have been knocking, because he bumped his nose literally on the door between my legs as I'm looking down, going, what are you doing? Why are you trying to get in my house? So as I have thought about this, it could probably get in the back door if it really wanted to, because I've talked about there being a snake on the floor between me and the bathroom here, and there have been snakes in the house before, so never to have bothered me. But the fact that this one was outside running from the cats with all these other places it could have crawled, safely, mind you, it went right for the door and kept going, pim, 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 like, let me in. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but you can't come in, So, but it is the brown water snake, but only the head, and I mean just a little bit behind the head. The rest of the snake was just brown. I thought it was molting or something. No, that's the color of the snake. And when I just typed in black snake in South Georgia, and it was one of the pictures, and I was like, that's it, and a very accurate picture. I was like, that is exactly what was in the yard. But here's the interesting thing: with fall coming, we're almost at the equinox. And, with the earth wobbling and all these other weird things, critters have been acting strange. You know, um, Not that deer haven't come up in my yard before, but they've been coming up in my yard like a lot and being seen, from sitting on the couch and looking out the window. Me and Duggar have spotted deer. And there's deer, we spotted, in the backyard here, like 50 yards, I'll say half a football field at least. and a couple of doe, and and signs of a buck, because they start scraping this time of year, and it is bow hunting season down here, and there is an overpopulation of deer. So you know and here's the thing, not whether you're not you agree with hunting, but if there's too many of them, seriously, it really becomes an issue with farmers and things. You get 10, 12 deer on the edge of a peanut field and they can wreak havoc. And so it's like, oh yeah, but they're deer. Yeah, but they're eating your peanuts and they're eating your profits. And so but most of the time farmers, they hunt the deer on the edges of the field, when they come out to eat the peanuts, especially when they turn them over. The smell of them fresh peanuts after they turn them up out of the ground and they're drying, man, you can smell them. A human can smell the wind's blowing and know what they're sniffing in the air. But um, but to have and it has been wet down in the back this year, right? Uncommonly. So, but to have a snake, like a river snake, a water snake, that despite conditions, to me would seem it would needs to be further back instead of more up here up on the hill. So my question is this though. Normally down here in the south, it's dry. I mean, you'd beg for a cup full of water down on the river. There'll be holes, but there'll be great big stretches of sand where the river might be literally the width of a pencil and just barely a little line of water going. It might carry a small leaf, and you could tell that it's flowing. But now it's been wet. So, but here's the thing. So any little critters like, we don't have chipmunks, but mice and stuff, that the land has been mostly wet. So where are these small critters going to hide, live, and everything? So curiously, I'm wondering if the food source that normally would feed the river snakes has run, it has changed because of excess water this year. Where are the rodents? Well, they've climbed up trees, but they can't forage. The things have changed for the small rodents and things, right? Which, the snakes would be eating. Also, if it were um, fish. So is there too much water and the snakes can't find the fish? Or are there no fish? Are they distributed? What's the deal? So why is there a water snake in my yard when the river's way back yonder? So the other thing is, boy, I really need to, I walk out at night and I just assume I'm walking in the grass and not necessarily on a snake. So I just need to be I'm always aware, but I could have walked out there with no light on, no porch light or anything to walk out to the truck, and I would have stepped right on that sucker. you know so I might have to be more careful. That was sort of a warning to me. But now I haven't seen a rattlesnake in 15 years. Yeah, at least 15 years anywhere around here. They mostly got killed off. Now people would say, well, that's a good thing. No, everything has its purpose, right? So the fact that there's a brown water snake up in my yard kind of thing is like, okay, that's interesting. Why is it up here? Is it looking for? It must be looking for food. Okay, because whatever's in the backyard, because of extra water and mice and it's changed. The whole backyard has changed. Where it would stay flooded for a month or so, it would dry up, small critters, and stuff, and it hadn't been like that. So, but anyway, as far as honestly, this snake knocked on the door with its nose. And I just stood there looking down between my legs going, this is just, the crazy things that critters do. And I'm so glad it wasn't a poisonous. If it had been a poisonous snake, I would have dealt with it. But it was just laying out there in the yard. But I wished I could have taken the video. I will make sure that, I have the batteries charged and a memory chip in the camera now because that was, I could have come in here and, 10 seconds and back out. I'd have had video of this. Them cats playing with that snake. That was, I mean, it was a nature video that I just wish you could have seen. But anyway, so there's a story that's not did you feel the snake had a message for you? Yeah, you could eat the snake. But it was the message to me always, like, for some reason, of all the places the snake wasn't scared of, was coming towards me and my back door, where that door. And so it's like, it tells me my sake, not necessarily that it was a snake message, but it could be. I'll have to look at that. But it was more of the times that I've encountered snakes around here, they like wanted to be in the house, and it's like, now you say, what do you mean they want to be in the house? Don't ask me, maybe I've got a sign out that says, come on in, critters. I don't know. But the idea that they're not afraid of me. I mean, he came right at me and looked at me, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Hey, Barry. So this snake is just like coming at me like hell bent for election. And I'm like, he's gonna make a right because it's more open. If he makes a left coming at me, there's the house and he's got to go through the grass all the way back to the woods. So he could find cover quicker if he turns, makes a turn to the right. No, straight at the door and bumps it with his nose. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm looking down going, I don't want to pick him up, but not that I'm really afraid, but I wasn't prepared to reach down and pick him up. I mean, normally I have picked up wild snakes like that and moved them or whatever, and said, okay, go over here, getting them out of my chicken pen over the years, oh my God. And so, and the snakes I've seen in the wild that I just literally will go up and kind of pet them on the side and just say hi to them in the wild. And they'll like, look at me and like, are you trying to bother me here? But, but he didn't zig at all. He came right up and bumped his nose on the flipping wooden door. And I mean, it was like, you could hear it was like, and it kept going like this. And I was like, dude, and I have a spray bottle at the back door and outside. So when the skeeters are really bad, because the cats collect. And when I open the door, the cats run, but it leaves all the skeeters there, that want to come in the house. Everything wants to come in the damn house, right? So I have this spray bottle of liquid soap in there, and I spray around me, and they get the soap on their wings, and it drops them, right? Some of the bigger ones it takes 2 or 3 squirts, and depending on where the stream hits them, but it'll knock them down to the ground. And so, instead of using a toxic spray, I just use, an old spray bottle with liquid soap in it, right? A dash of, like dish liquid soap, but mostly a liquid soap like you would get from the dollar store. I use, there's an apple scented and it's a purple smell kind of thing. But anyway, it comes out and sprays well. But so there are 8 or 10 mosquitoes around me and buzzing my legs and whatever. I just spray this and it'll knock them right out of the sky. So, and it's non-toxic, But anyway, but I had that in my hand, in my right hand, and wondering what the hell to do with my left hand, which is, not my normal reach down and grab something with, right? It's usually my defensive and I'm doing anyway. So, but boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, snake, come on. So I just put it down beside him, like, just kind of push his head away, like, not here. I'm not letting you in. He was very persistent, and stayed right there between my legs, wasn't scared, wasn't, But he did seem panicked in the fact that he couldn't get in my house, which I just stared down there going like, of all the places to go, what do you want in for? You know, is it wintertime that, the snakes and stuff are looking for places, to stay warm? Okay. Have the other snakes and critters around told this particular snake, hey, there's Haven up there at Hawkeye's place, go up there, he won't bother you. But but to open the door to a snake and say, well, come on in, let's see what you do. I do have mice in the house, and several years ago their rats got in the house. I don't know how they got down here, but they did. And there was about a 6 foot 7 foot oak snake that was in my ceiling, and you could hear it because it would thump its tail, and then it would catch one of those rats and eat them. And it was like, people say, you got a what? Yeah, I got about a 7 foot snake in my ceiling, between the floors. What? And I go, yeah, but it's eating the rats. But you let him in? I go, no, I got in on its own, but I ain't gonna try to chase it away. So yeah, am I crazy? Yeah. Do I live close to nature? Yeah. And nature seems to live close to me. But by golly, why that why that brown water snake when it in my house this afternoon? I don't know. It was just the dangest thing. But so for me, I'm gonna look up. I gotta find I got the book my Indian cards up somewhere. I'm gonna find it and find what snake is and see if there's what the snake card reads. But things have been going fair to middling, and I wasn't really looking for any kind of messages or anything, but sometimes messages kind of just crawl right up to you. But the big message that continues to be the message from the animal world is that for whatever reason, they're not afraid of me. I mean, they're not afraid of my house. They're not afraid of here. That they would rather choose of all the flipping directions it could have went. It chose to knock on the door with its nose, with me standing outside going, this ain't going to work, brother. Didn't try to kill it, didn't try to harm it, didn't. And finally it said, okay. And I was like, I looked down and he kind of looked up and I was like, you can't come in. And off around the, where the new porch is still being built around that side of the house to the back. So it's 9/11, everybody. But, so are the critters going crazy? I don't know. There's all kinds of incidents of the critters doing strange things. The ants continue to try to get in the house. I found ants in a cabinet over on the other side of the house, and it's like, but there's no sign of the ants anywhere else except up in the cabinet. And where are these SOBs? So a lot of other places, and I've checked around, but I don't know. But so critters are doing some strange things in some strange places. Hey, David Castle. Hi, Zed. The force is strong with this one. Over the years, I mean, for the little snakecapade that happened today, my snakecapade, I'm going to stay with y'all till the 20 anyway. I didn't plan on doing a long video, but, that living with nature and accepting nature, So my friend that came over, she lost her brother today, a year ago. He bought a drink outside of a store down near around Valdosta and was fixing to go home and had a heart attack and died right there in the truck. And so she was going to go down. She's probably down there now or has already been, but too late, arose in the spot where his truck was parked and something else and to go down and just pay honor to him after, this being the 1 year. And so I was like, that's very noble of you. And she goes, well, I just feel like I have to do it. And I said, a lot of people wouldn't think that way. And I said, you have a good trip, be safe. So, but when she got out of the truck and was coming over to see me, she looked down and goes, oh, look, there's one of those Oh no, I can't remember. Plants. We always call them passion flowers, but they're not. It's a lily of types anyway. And she goes, "Oh, look, there's one right there in the yard. We'll step on it." And I said, "No, I'll have to dig that one up and get it out of the way." She goes, "You remember last year about this same time?" She said, "I saw one. You dug it up for me, and I took it home." And she goes, "To yesterday or today, it bloomed. It popped up, and there's two or three more, and those are flowers I got from your house. And but they bloomed around the anniversary when my brother died." And I was like, "So how appropriate, you know?" And so, but anyway, so it's the strange little tiny things you do for people, with people, and later on it becomes meaningful. So she'll remember those flowers. And I dug them out of the yard because somebody was going to step on them, or I was going to drive over them with the truck. And it's like, "Here, take some of these home. You know, it'll only take me a minute." And so this year she's got her own now. So I just think that's great. But as far as being close to close to nature, there are some people that, if a snake will run from you kind of thing, but I don't know what I mean by that. There are some people that are just, the friendliest dog would curl up his tail and go the other direction. There are people like that. And one might question whether or not they're actually people, but, that's for another discussion. But so for me, the snake coming up and literally knocking on the door of this nose. And I put in the title, I said, it knocked on the door. It would have knocked on the door, but it had no hands. So I'm, in my brain, I'm looking down, and he's kind of the snake. I don't know if it's a he or she, but the snake comes up and doesn't really arch up high, but high enough to where it's not flat on the ground hitting the door. So it can do this little pecking thing. And I'm like, can you not see this is a big piece of wood? Or, you can see that far because you're hitting it with your nose, right? What's in there? Why do you want in my house, And so rather than me panic or whatever, I was just like, "Now, ain't this just some curious behavior, on my part as well, if you want to know." But I knew the snake wasn't going to harm me. Okay, that was just right there. It could have, tried to bite me, but its head isn't big enough to go. Even if it would have tried to strike my ankle, I don't know if could have been, it could have bit me on the ankle. Okay, I was in shorts. Okay, but it didn't even try. It was not scared of me at all. So for me, that says my energy is like what's around me. My energy is so, whatever's in my neighborhood is used to my energy versus somebody else that would come up and, like, "Woo, who's that?" We don't, my scent, my energy, whatever is here. So, which is interesting because, over the years with my encounters with critters in my house and right outside my house and all, so it's very interesting to me. You never seen a snake run? I never seen a snake jump up the way this snake did. Y'all got here slightly late, but there were two cats. I'll retell the beginning of this. So there's two cats in the yard. "Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy because of you." Crosby, Stills, Nash. Okay. So anyway, so black cat looking at the nose and gets in and doing a little bit of pawing. And like I said in the beginning of this, black kitten number one seemed to know as it got closer with its nose and the nose of the snake, there was this invisible force field that cat's nose would not go beyond. It would go sneak in. And I was like, "Are you going to go any closer?" And it'd go, and there would be like this, like, "Woo," and it would back up. And now in the meantime, cat number two with the white belly is in the back at the tail end, go, going like this, wanting to touch it, right? Let's see what this thing's going to do. Because it's wiggling its back tail just a little bit, So he wants to play, but it's big and, uh, Now, my whole backyard is a water source. I literally live on it, literally by right back down the hill here in my backyard is the swamp, you know. So, and because there's been so much water this year, there's, you know, water being held in places that normally would be dry this time of year. Anyway, but that's one reason why I think the snake's up here. It's been too wet back there. You know, there aren't enough rodents and things and whatever they normally eat. But anyway, so cat number one playing with the nose. I swear to God, this invisible force shield. And it would get close and it would get into that, then it would just shut her back. And the snake ain't moved a bit, right? But the cat in the back with a white belly touches the back of that snake. Just after several, you know, almost touched it. Yeah, it didn't do anything. Got a little closer. Get what? Reach out that paw and touched it. And that snake, it leaped up, straight up from the ground and back down again. And this cat jumped this way and this cat jumped that way. It never struck at the cat. And it just sat there. But it just straight up and then right back down. Hey, Witch Moon. Anybody else? 2020. Oh, it is. Yes. And I'm preloaded from a while ago. So let's share a 20, but having, you know, having no fear, of course, as I said in the very beginning of this thing, I had checked out the snake from a distance, close enough to check its markings underneath its, you know, under its neck and its head. And so I got a really good picture, right? Hey, Pearl. Happy 20, everybody. 9:20 Eastern Daylight Time here in South Georgia, Southwest Georgia, where we've had, you know, off and on showers again today, and the rivers come up again because we've had over a half an inch of rain just in a little bit here, but which is not a lot, but the river's still full anyway. But to the story of the snake. So the snake's basically in the same position, right? So cat number one on the nose, cat white belly cat number two at the tail, and they go through the whole scenario again. The front cat, it was so weird but amazing, and I was like, that cat knows not to get any closer. Whatever it's sensing from the front end of this snake, it knows it can't go any closer. And it was like a short strike distance, right? Because the snake was laying flat. And so it would have been hard for that snake to have made any kind of strike. And the cat would have been able to back up, you know, as quick as they are. But there, it was like, I swear to God, I was looking, I was like, there's an invisible force shield, and that cat senses it. So as this goes on again, cat number two is a little bit more bold, right? Because it touched it. It didn't hurt it. It scared it, but now it's really like, okay, what happens if I touch this tail again, right? So front end's being occupied, and I don't think the two cats know what they're doing, right? The back cat just wants to know, what's this big tail laying here in the yard that's not normally here, you know? So when I see them out there playing in the grass from now on, I'm going to go out and look. There might be a snake out there they're pawing at. So I'm standing at the door watching them, was thinking, you know, if I go get the camera, I'm gonna lose it. So I would, you know, decided to just watch. And as I made that final decision, the cat in the back touched that snake, jumped up, hit the ground, but then headed straight towards me, which was like 6 feet away, maybe 7. And by the time I could say 1, 2, 3, the snake was between my legs and hitting the door with its nose, literally knocking at the door. And me, all I had was a spray bottle, you know, for spraying insects. And all I could think of was to put it down on the ground and divert it, saying, no, you can't come in. No, what are you doing? And it just was very persistent. So, but anyway, that's the retelling of what actually happened. But it only took a few minutes. If I'd have come in the house and tried to get the camera, would have missed the whole thing. But so I've been talking about the idea that, reptile, whoa, the reptiles are coming and, and you're connected. Nah, just stay out of there. But the fact that the snake would just crawl between my legs, like didn't even notice me, not a problem, didn't try to hurt me, you know, very bizarre, but I've had some bizarre things happen with all kinds of critters over the years. But anyway, so this was worth hanging out and just coming on. But it is a true story. It did happen just a couple of hours ago. So, it's just a wonderment to me. And so what does this mean to me as a shaman? It means I'm so thankful, I'm so connected that the snake wasn't afraid of me. That's what, I'm so thankful. I don't try to be connected. I just am, you just have to kind of just accept it and go. But when things like this happen, you go, well, hell, it didn't even care if did it not even see me, sense me or whatever. I'm sure I'm giving off heat. I'm sure as a viper, it's going to pick up the heat from me. It knows I'm there. But this knocking on the door with its nose, that was very interesting. I'm so tickled. I just, I was sitting here, I was like, nobody's ever going to believe this story, all the stories I tell. So I called the person who was here to go, you know what that damn snake did? It tried to get in the door, and so, okay, bye, But what is the message? For me, it's a continuing amazement that you can be so close to nature that they literally want to come stay with you, But I consider it an honor. That's all, But it was a snake, yeah. But so, they're critters too. Snakes have been given a bad name all the time. It once that little copperhead that just went under your door. No, there is no under the house unless you dig. My house sits on the ground. So, not up off the ground at all, mind you. It sits right on the ground. So, and I would have seen that little snake, I think. But anyway, but I do know that there's mice and lizards and frogs and stuff like that. And so when a snake can't find those kinds of things, then in my backyard that I haven't cleaned up, there are a lot of toad frogs and things and stuff. So let it go in the backyard. Why it was in the front yard? Who knows? But I'm thinking that the habitat has just been too wet, even for the damn water snakes. But I am so close to the water that this real, where I am right now isn't really a big deal. But the other thing is, though, I'm always thinking, what is Mother Earth telling the critters? These snakes live on the ground and, they're like touching Mother Earth all the time, unless they crawl up a tree or something, right? So, what is moving them this high up the hill from the swamp in the backyard? So, I've said for a while that, we're going to have an early fall, and we'll see, don't know how cold, but a lot of times if the snakes are looking for a hole, and if their normal hole, which they have a tendency to crawl into, is now flooded, so they got to find another place to go to hole up if they feel winter coming. You see what I'm saying? So they look for a hole. They look for, did it strike you that it was a demonic entity? Oh, absolutely not. No, 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 no. No, it was not like that. This snake glowed. It was like there have been times when I've been around snakes where they look at you and I go, ooh, that's a creepy look. This snake had there was nothing in its heart. There was nothing in its eyes. because I mean, literally as it was coming at me, I could look in its eyes and I was like, oh, but, and I figured he was just going to turn, right? But the fact that he kept knocking at the door, I was like, well, I hate to shoo you away, but no, you can't come in, you know. And it was more like something was chasing it and it wanted in. It was like it wanted in for protection. That's what it seemed to me. It looked up to me like, oh please. And I was like, no, you can't come in, there are plenty of places right behind the house, but no, I'm not going to open the door and let you in. And it was more of a pleading than anything. That's sort of why, having this event, I'm looking down at the snake going, all these things are going like speed of lightning quick. I'm not scared of it, and it's between my legs. It's not trying to, all these things, are instantaneously are awareness all at one time. Because it took less than 5 seconds for that snake to get from the grass to the door. It was like, it was there. Get out of the way or look or whatever, and since I didn't know which way it was going to turn, I just decided to stay put. But then when it went right between my legs, I was like, what? But it looked right up at me, like, let me in. And I was like, no, I can't. That's possible, Barry, but I'll tell you what, after seeing that thing laying out there in the grass, and the grass is not really that tall. Right now, it's been 2 weeks since I've used the weed eater, but it's hasn't been coming up as fast. So as it gets towards winter, I would rather the grass be a little taller because it'll fall down and everything, and it actually protects the earth better, right? So I don't want to cut it too short before wintertime comes or when the grass, quits growing. Um, but I couldn't see the damn thing. I mean, I was like, oh, holy crap. I would have stepped right on that puppy. Because, it's right there between me and the truck, right? And I go out there to check the truck. If I'm going to go somewhere and put water in the radiator. And so I would have stepped right on it. I would not have seen it. I mean, I say that because I'm not expecting it. But you can bet your ass I'm not afraid of snakes. Like I wasn't afraid of this one, but to just go out and step on it haphazardly, because you're not paying attention, hey, that way, and which I could have done easily going out to the truck for something, and just the way it was laying, I just would have walked, I would have stepped on it without even paying attention because I'm not used to snakes being in my yard. I will pay more attention now. Now, a friend of mine lives just down the road. I've talked about Ed over the years and just passing as being a neighbor in the neighborhood, but he's, 5 miles away, 3 miles away. But, I asked Ed, I said, he was years ago, he was talking about, he goes, yeah, this is my grandpa's place here. And he goes, yeah, he said, and he died out here pretty much. And I was like, yeah, I said, what happened? And he said, well, he went out to the barn because he heard a racket and stepped on a rattlesnake and it bit him. And because back then, I mean, it's still a long way from here to get to the hospital. And back then you barely had a phone service. And, to get to the hospital, everything was dirt roads. And, so his grandpa died by stepping on a rattlesnake, just going right to the same barn he'd went to back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, for 70 years or 60 years, and like me, just going outside, no shoes on or whatever, and walk out in the grass and then go, oh, holy crap. So I think now I will just pay just a little bit more attention because it was so well camouflaged. I mean, even for myself, I was like, holy crap, would I have seen it? Because she saw it first. And it took me a minute to go, oh, there it is. So it didn't just stand out. So, it perfectly camouflaged for me having cut the tall grass and it came over and the grass is dried. It's got that, grass that was this tall, I cut down and turns brown and mixes. It's mulching my yard out there, and it just mixed right in with it. I mean, it was like, unbelievably. So, but anyway, um, that way I said hi, Elderberry. But we do have hawks and we do have owls, and not saying that they couldn't see it, but it wasn't like a black snake that you would just like, ooh, there's a difference in color in the yard. No, man, this thing blended right in. But anyway, so but for me, the curiosity is many things. With winter coming on, it wanted in the house because maybe it sensed it was warm in here. And that's one of the things is like for me, I know there are other snakes that live around here. They have for years with the chickens and the frogs and stuff. That there are. The last time I seen it, it was about 7.5 foot long, and I swear to goodness, it is a beautiful snake. I mean, not necessarily like an anaconda, but oh my God. Um, and a couple of years ago, I was out back coming around and I seen this thing emerge from this small open spot that at one day I thought, well, I was going to fix. It still ain't fixed, but where two ceilings came together in the wall and there's a little crack there. This snake came out of this hole, which means it was living over my bathroom, this small shed that sticks out back. It's been living up there. Okay, so as long as it's happy, I'm not positive, but I'm like, I don't know where else it would be living. And there was evidence that it was living there before. So, okay. So you're living in my little outhouse. It's not an outhouse, but it sticks out from the house. So, but anyway, the throne room. And so it's like it's got its own little roof to it. Right. And so over the years, I think it just crawled up in there, and there's insulation and there's a ceiling on the inside. So, but there are times when it's like, but anyway, but this snake came out of this hole from the side of the house, and it kept coming and kept coming. And then it drooped down and touched the ground, and the tail was still in the wall, and it kept coming down to the ground, and it just came right at me. Big, I knew what it was by looking at it. It's that oak snake, that mama oak snake that's been here for 15, maybe 20 years. That snake's been around here. And it crawled right at me and just looked right at me and went right between my legs, just like nothing was there. And just, down towards the chicken pen kind of thing. See if it could find an egg or something I'd forgot to get, or, something like that. And I was like, holy crap, right. I mean, so this is not the first time that snakes have like bit between my legs. That sounds weird. But anyway, so for my understanding and my desire as a shaman in training is to become with nature and the things around, but to have the snake thingy, and this is not the first time. The snake in the house before and previous times, and just stuff, they're just not threatened by me. And there's been a couple of times where they should have been, because they ate my chickens. I had some new chicks, and I thought I had it sealed up, and a snake got in there and ate 4 of them damn chicks before I could get back out there the next day. I took care of that snake. I toted it off. But anyway, I mean, there have been times over the years where I'd go in to get the eggs out of the chicken pen, and you always look first. You never stick your hand into one back in the corner without getting a stick or something, make sure there ain't something in there. And so I went to reach my hand in there one time, and there was a 3.5, 4 foot oak snake in there, which had an egg not quite past its lips and was headed south. And I was like, no, you son of a bitch, no, you don't. And it couldn't argue too much because it had a big brown egg in its mouth, right? And going down its throat. And I was like, I grabbed that snake behind the head and squashed that egg back out. And I said, you're just going to have to, try again, brother. So it was rather pissed at me. I didn't throw the snake out or anything. I just took the egg and just said, you know, you can stay in here, but you know, you ain't getting that, you ain't getting that egg. So I've had my bouts with snakes over the years. And I had to tote a few of them off because they just got to be too belligerent, and I had too many of the oak snakes. I mean, they were just two or three in the chicken pen, you know, searching for eggs and food and stuff. And I was like, there's just too many of you. Now, since I don't have chickens, you know, and I don't go out there to the chicken pen anymore, I'm sure they hang around out there because there are other things like frogs and stuff that they can eat. So I'm sure they're still hanging out around the house. But to see this brown water snake, and let me describe again, there's a picture, a good picture of it. I just typed in on DuckDuckGo, black water snake, Southwest Georgia, and I noticed it in just a couple of pictures. And the interesting thing about it is it's got an orange yellow kind of thing right under the neck, and the head is black, but from the tip of its nose to where it turns brown is about this far, honest to God, and the rest of the snake is brown. And I mean, in a lot of ways, it looks like a moccasin. I can see why people kill them thinking that they're moccasin. And somebody goes, well, this is a moccasin. I go, but where's the head? Well, right there. And I go, that's not a moccasin's head. But look, it does look like a moccasin. It, honest to God, when I looked out there, I was like, holy shit, how'd I get a moccasin in my yard? Because I haven't seen one around, but my neighbors claim they did. So I asked them, I said, are you sure it was a moccasin? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, they are woods people. Don't get me wrong. But if somebody had seen that snake, they would have swore it was a moccasin. But when I looked down and saw the orange and the yellow underneath its neck, I was like, no, this ain't no moccasin. And the head's much smaller. I mean, so one of the things I pointed out to my friend, I said, now look, notice this. I said, you know, this snake, before you get all, okay, it's a snake, you don't like him, but before you think you're going to get bit and you're going to die, look at this snake's body. It comes all the way down and joins the head. There, when a viper, the head will come down and then pop out and then come to a point, or you know, more triangular like this. But a non-poisonous snake, it just barely bulges right behind the jaws, barely. But on a rattlesnake or moccasin or something like that, it's very profound and comes around. So, but anyway, so I knew right away from looking at it that way. But folks are, they would have killed that snake because the body looked like a water moccasin. And like I said, I must agree. But you know, so but anyway, so for folks who think, you know, they're doing the right thing, well, I got rid of another moccasin. Did you? I'm just asking, you know, did you? So, how's y'all days going? Yeah, viper versus constrictor. Now, vipers will constrict around their prey, but usually only to hold it, to get it to like start, you know, go down. Whereas a true constrictor will just wrap around something and you know, that's that. And having had many snakes on my arm over the years wrap around it, and some of these, I mean, I've held. I can't say it was the same snake that I described that came out the back of my house, but it was a very large. We call them oak snakes. They're, you know, rat snake, oak snake. But I had it up over my head, and I'm almost 6 foot, 5'11" ish. You know, I've shrunk over the years, but you know, so I'm holding this snake above my head, and its tail was on the ground, and there was like this much tail. So that's like 7 foot long, at least. You know, somebody says, "Well, a 6 foot long oak snake, dude, that can't be." And I was like, "It was longer than that." I'm saying it was at least, because I, from the ground to where my hand was at least 6 foot. But anyway, to the point though, had him wrapped around my arm while I'm trying to handle him and put him in something and get him, you know, maybe move him somewhere else. What am I going to do with this large snake? It's crawling around, right? And then at different times, I just had to make the decision that, look, this is one of God's creatures. And with all these people that talk bad about the snakes, I've never been attacked by one. I, but just, there are opposite things than being attacked that the snakes have kind of sort of offered me, in that they're not scared of me. They go right between my legs and just say, like, "Hi, Dave." If they, I swear to God, I think that if they had arms, the oak snake that has been around here for so many years, that it would wave at me. I mean, because just the way the snakes looked at me before, and it was like, he was just like, "Hi, how you doing? I'm just passing through. Don't bother me." And I was like, "What?" And it crawled between my legs. This 7-foot snake. So in a way, they're my anacondas, of South Georgia, in that they're constrictors, and but so is this the brown uh, river snake. And it was, the head was really pretty. I mean, but astounding anyway. So I'm blessed that critters will, can be around me and not be threatened, and it didn't threaten me. Didn't threaten the cats either, which just, as I know I keep repeating myself, but I'm slightly stoned and ready for another hit. But that, it was just hilarious to me to watch this snake tapping at the door. And I was like, dude or dudette or whoever you are, I was like, where is the camera? Right. But, to the point of like, but Niles, I think, asked me earlier, same here. Water moccasins are always trying to get in my boat, smiling. Yes, now that's different. That's like on the water, but not that they can't. But see, I'm a good ways from the river, but there are lots of places that there's water running across my property because of the creek that runs through, that me and my neighbor share back over this way behind me. So there's water that's running through that normally would be dry this time of year. And so there are little rivers and little creekies running through. And then there's a river back in the back where all this stuff is going to, right? It meets back down on the little creek dumps into the river on my side of the property. But anyway, but it runs through several pieces of property. But this year the water's been up high enough to where there's just, there are high spots, but it just ain't like it's been over the years. I mean, we've had 7 months of wetness. Ooh, that sounds nasty or dirty, don't it? But I mean, since vacation time in June, y'all been hanging around with me. July, August, and now we're halfway through September. So it's been 3 months of we had 3 or 4 days of we had a little mist one time, but the skies have been pretty good, and then the rain came in last night and today. But it could have been worse. But we've had about a half an inch of rain from this, Nicholas, whichever this one little storm thingy that went by us. It wasn't little, but anyway, hey Doug, holy hell, we got some water here today. Yeah. Yeah, my friend that came down to see me, she said, you know, that it rained like hell up around Tifton and between Tifton and Moultrie. But it was just a little further to the east of me where this big band of showing up red and orange, thunderstorms went through. And we sat here and we could hear the thunder, very close. But anyway, so I will find my book, and next time we get together, I'll tell you about whatever the book says about the snake and if I found anything in that. But I swear to you, that snake looked up at me in despair, hey Ed, and said, "Please let me in." And I was like, it was like I looked at the snake and it was literally, straight out in front of me on the ground, pointed toward the cats. And the cats weren't trying to chase it or nothing. They were just sitting in the grass going, where'd that thing go? And what's it doing over there trying knocking at the door to get in? And if I had not, seen it, because it hit it with his nose, and then the snake looked up to me as I was looking down, and then bumped at the door again, and I was like, it happened 3 times actually. But anyway, and it was, I swear it wasn't evil. I swear when I looked down, it was comical, and then it was comical because I was like, it's not even paying attention to me and it's knocking on the door. And then I was thinking if it had arms, it would be like this, but then it was like when it looked, because I'm looking down, and when it looked up to me, it was sort of like in desperation. And that's when I was like, I felt sorry for it. And I was like, no, you really can't come in here, and it looked at me again and still trying to get, and I was like, please, and then around the corner it went. But it was just interesting. So, but nothing evil about it. It just did not feel that way at all. So, in lots of ways, I feel that the snakes are protection, and maybe from evil things, you know, because there are some snakes that'll eat other snakes. So, um, and one thing, if I make it, Tom T. Hall wrote a song about Sneaky Snake. Yeah, he did. And I can't remember how it goes, but yeah, you're right. So I had no biggie thing to talk about tonight or anything, but it seems that it seems that spirits, brought a story, and for all like us, you've heard me tell stories of the things that have happened with animals and this and that, owls and beavers and otters come up to me and stuff, in the wild. I mean, like right next to me, up to me. So it to me, it's an honor. If someone was to say, how do I put this? As a shaman in training, okay, if I was being like uh graded, okay, there's an elder that has been around longer, and he's not really judging me, but he's watching. You know, do wild animals run from him? Are they more attracted, or how does he react with? So when these incidents happen, I think to myself, it's almost like getting a gold star, or not necessarily gold, but it's almost like getting a star saying, "See, you know, your your energy is still good. Okay, shaman in training, you still got it. The animals aren't afraid of you, and you're still doing good. You're still doing well. Okay, so an attaboy, a pat on the back from the spirit world, or from nature, saying, hey. So, and I don't take it as I feel very humble, honestly, because I sat here for an hour just thinking about it. It's been kind of hard to get it out of my head since it just happened a couple hours ago. But that, like, holy crap, right between my legs, holy crap, it knocked on the door. Oh, holy crap, and it obviously keeps going through my mind. But so what are those implications? But like I said, from a shaman in training who's looking at the situation, I would say that it is it's proof that I am simpatico. Get this, that I am simpatico with my place here. So the snake could be crawling around all the time and I wouldn't know because I'm not out all the time. And there are times when I've seen the cat's playing with something out there in the grass and don't know if there's anything there. It could have been a snake, could have been this one, you know what I mean? So, and I've seen other snakes around the house, so it's not unusual to see a snake at any time. Do 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 do. It's not unusual to be, spooked at any time. It's not unusual. Anyway, so in that musical tone, right? Get that tone and that baritone toning, right? So, but anyway, but to be visited by a snake and not have anybody, not have it try to harm you or anything like that, it's just like, to me, that's just a blessing. That says, the spirits and nature is saying, we we still like you, Dave. We like you, Hawkeye. We're willing to literally come knock on your door to seek, refuge. I mean, that's what I kept thinking of. When looking down at that snake, there was almost like panic in its eyes. And I felt sorry for it. So, and I really, in a lot of ways, I regret that I didn't open the door and let it come on in, because it was like, it was being nice about it. So, but at least I wasn't rude and chased it, but I would not open the door to it. So, now, someone would say, well, what does that mean? Well, it just means that he can live, he can go anywhere, but inside the house may not be appropriate, So, not that I don't want it or try to kill it or harm it or chase it. It just couldn't come in that door over there. That's all. No anger, no animosity. I didn't hit it or swat at it or nothing like that. I did kind of try to block it with that, that spray bottle that I had to, like, no, 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 no. I was trying to shoo his head to not knock on the door. The night is going fast tonight. Yes, it is. What time is it? Wow, it's 9 what? What time is it? It's 9:50. Shit, I've been on here over an hour. Crap. It feels like about 45 minutes to me. I had a really good hit off this bowl, and I've had this cigarette that I was going to smoke, but thank goodness, it's been an hour and whatever. But hi, Ed. Hope you're doing okay. So, so for the snake in the yard today and trying to get in, I got little toad frogs that come in under the door and hop through the house all the time. It's just been going on for at least the last 20 years, but actually longer. But I mean, crap, when I think about the frogs in the house, that in the shower, here's the story about frogs in the house. Hey, Chloe, did I miss anybody? Delaney, David Castle, and everybody and anybody else that might be back in the background. Love you all. Be safe. And, for this time of year now, going into the fall, and it doesn't really matter where you live, because there are snakes that are even in the cities and outskirts and stuff like that. So you should just be aware. People in the old days would, in the neighborhood would put up little signs and stuff, saw a snake, or they'd tell their neighbor and say, hey, tell them the snakes are crawling. So in the springtime, there's about a month or so when the quote snakes are crawling, then they just kind of like hang out for the summer or whatever. And then, but when winter comes, though, there's a period of time when the snakes are crawling again. So I don't know how it is in other places, but down here in the South, there seems to be this little thing. Not that you won't see one in between, but this year I have seen fewer snakes out that have crossed the road and somebody's run over or something. They're not there. Now, there are fewer people driving on some of these roads, so they're not hitting them or running over them. So there's that. Or are there fewer snakes? But like around here, so there's a good size, brown water snake in my yard, and then I've seen these other snakes, and so I know they're around. So, but having been on the river and the water's getting low enough, it's time for me to go kayaking, whether the river's too high or not. My birthday's coming up, and I swore to God I was going to be on the river, whether anybody goes with me or not. So, but anyway, and I don't mean that rudely. I'm just like, that's how determined I am, high water or not. I'm going to be in the kayak soon. I'm well overdue, but um, anyway, just went off on that. But having been down on the river though, and in many places in the swamp, you just don't see many snakes in places. Even the places where I've gotten out and walked around and stuff, just don't see many snakes. So here around my house, and yeah, the river's in the backyard. My neighbors have seen them when we've got snakes. There are the oak tree snakes and stuff, and there may be a moccasin. We do have, but the brown water snake is probably more like it. And I've seen them on my place before, so I know they've been here. But they're usually, 1,000 feet back, on the river. But anyway, so, but just interesting. So I would continue to, for people, stay aware, awareness, of all the years. I'd never seen one in the yard, but there one was. It could have been a moccasin, could have been another kind of snake. So we have to be careful. Because folks that I know, they lost, their grandparent for walking out to the barn late at night and through the grass and stepped on a rattlesnake, and it bit him, and he died before he could get to the hospital because it's a ways from out here. But anyway. Oh, whoa, that was a good 20. So one could say seeing that snake in the yard today is like, wow, now that really ought to wake you up. Well, it did. I'm always looking down when I'm walking, but there are times also, because I have walked through this area so many times, I can look down, but I'm looking up in the trees. I'm looking off in the woods, off in the distance, and I'm not really paying attention straight down. And so what this tells me, and I realized it the other day when I was walking, that I just need to pay a little bit more attention to the ground, just because, because you can walk, like for me, I'd have walked out away from the house, down the trail, been gone a few minutes and come back, and the snake would have been in the yard. Because when my friend got there, the snake wasn't in the yard. Okay. So she was here 15 minutes maybe. And so in the 15 minutes she was here, and the next thing I know, we're walking outside for her to leave, and now the snake's there. So in 15 minutes time, it wasn't, and now it is. And in another 10 minutes or so, had there not been any bother, the cats would have probably chased it away, and it would have went away. It would have not knocked on the door. You know what I mean? I would have missed it because I'd have been in the house. But so there are the events that happen that you don't know have happened, So because I'm not outside all the time, but I do go in and out a lot. And I do go out in and out a lot with just my bare feet. I don't even wear flip-flops. So now I'm just going to be slightly a little bit more alert, just pay attention. So, but for you too, y'all pay attention to what's going on around you. And I consider it a real treat. I'll never forget the look on that snake's face looking up at me. So, it was like a cartoon, but it was like real life, It was just very interesting. So I know you can hear me chuckling. It was like, I know nobody saw this. Now I can prove that there was a snake here, but I did call my friend and I told her, I said, do you know what that snake did? And I told her the short story. She went, oh my God. But at least I can verify that the snake was here, So I bet, and it also told me, get your camera ready, because there are things that I have missed before. And there's some things that if I could find the video, I've got video of two snakes humping, twisted up overhead in my shed out there. Oh my God, they were having sex like you would not believe. It was wow. But I was working in I was working in a shop late one night when an eerie sound and a thump from the dark, because there was this thumping that kept hitting me in the head, and it was the snake's tail. And then, so as I'm looking down and working on this little project out there in the shop, I think I was sharpening a chainsaw blade or something. And so I kept flop this thing in, and I backed up because I can't look up real good. I backed up, and there was this snake's tail hanging down. It was like about a foot and a half of snake's tail. And I was like, what the hell? And about that time, another snake's tail dropped down beside it. And it was just wrapping around and everything. And then the snake's tails disappeared. But there was a hell of a racket going on over my head. And I came back in the house and got a camera. And somewhere, if it got saved, I've lost a couple of computers to sparks and spikes and stuff like that, and had pictures and video and stuff on a hard drive and didn't have it backed up. But anyway, but if I have it, it's really amazing to see these two snakes get after it, boy. I mean, and right over my head too, man. It was like, it didn't even have the decency to like close the door. But anyway, so the list of wild things with animals and critters and stuff, um, it makes it at times a water snake started to come in our boat once, and my cousin ran 12 feet on water to the shore. I know how that is. Having had a chance to a couple of minutes be able to peek at this at the snake from a safe distance to determine that it wasn't poisonous, but to look at it, excuse me, good enough and as close as I dared without, I didn't want to spook the snake, right? So not that I was afraid that it would bite me or anything. I didn't want to spook the snake. I kept getting closer, and I was like, oh, I could have got closer, but I was close enough to where I could see the markings and the pattern and everything, and I was good, right? So, but that little cat on the other hand, and I swear to Jesus, if I mean this in a good way, it was so cute how that cat, that black cat kept getting close to the front of that snake, and it would get to this invisible distance and just stop and come back. And then it would try it again. It would get just, to the same spot and go like this. And it was so in nature, watching the cat and the snake thingy, and then both cats were working on the snake without either one of them knowing what they were doing. They were working together without knowing it. That was strange. And quite naturally, one was more, interested in this, and the other one was in the back playing with the tail, and wanted to see what would happen when it touched it, if it would jump. It was fun to play with until it crawled away and knocked out. Maybe the cats had been harassing it so much. When it came over to me, it was like, save me. These cats won't leave me alone. They're pestering me. Let me in your house, please. That it was adorable is what it was. What? Yeah, the snake trying to get it. Hawkeye, you just used the word adorable to a snake. Yeah, I know. It is what it is. But see, at another time in my life, I would not have had quite the same reaction with the snake. I would have tried to kick it, got a hoe or a stick or something, which I almost did. I almost got it's an old boat paddle, right? and I was wooden boat paddle. So I was just going to get it. And if, just kind of like lift it up, see how long it is, or, and if it got around me or something, I could shoo it away, without hurting it. And if I had to beat on it, I could do that too. But unless it's a poisonous snake, and it's really, when I looked on the website, it's against the law in Georgia to kill snakes, many kind. But folks who kill snakes all the time, they swear their moccasins are actually killing these water snakes. And I find that, that's, if there's anything about that, before you kill it, make sure it's poisonous. And even if it is poisonous, if you're way down in the swamp or something and you're way away, now if it's in somebody's neighborhood or something, if there's a pond in the backyard and there are kids and dogs and stuff playing and there's a moccasin, you need to take care of the moccasin. That's just all there is to it. Just sorry, you just can't take that chance. But, there are a lot of water resorts and places like that where moccasins hang out. But there are a lot of places where the brown water snake hang out, and they're more in a demise. But see, here's the other thing, though. Of all the times I've been down on the river, y'all know I've been talking about it for years now, and it's all true. I've got pictures of some of it, right? But the idea that I very rarely, if ever, see a snake. In all the miles that I've traveled up and down the river, I barely ever see a snake. Now, years ago, in certain sections of the river, we'd see a moccasin or two, and I would know where they were. I mean, I'd know if there was a snake nearby. I could smell them, feel them. They used to call it snake dar. We coming up on a 20, I think. I was not going to stay here this long, but anyway. But snake stories. So it's 10:10, so we got 10 minutes. And then I'm going to wrap it up so y'all good folks can, share the rest of the evening. Because I was not planning on doing this. But it just seemed important to, to kind of share this story while it was fresh in my mind, And I just don't think I'll ever forget it. It's one of them that's going to stick with me. Like the time I had this 6.5 foot, black king snake here in the house. Oh my God, beautiful snake. And I took it out of the house, picked it up very gently and held it up and put it outside. And as I laid it down outside, it went between my legs and came back in the house. You see, in the world of things, for me, when I was growing up, I still don't get along with spiders really well, but there are spiders on this wall. But here's the thing, there are these tiny little roaches that get in, and I would rather dust them out of the windows than have these little critters running everywhere. And so the spiders actually do a service, oh, well, there's a spider. Yeah. And you should have seen the roach that crawled out from in the yard through a crack somewhere. And you see over here. Yeah. Well, that's the carcass. I didn't have to use any spray. There's no spray around the house. I spray for the ants all the time because they're like constantly wanting to get in the house. Now, here's something else of interest that I found out after I put the house here, okay, that when I used what most folks, they buy those rods, right? Well, I make mine out of copper. And so I had walked back and forth across the property this way, okay, where the well is, right up on the hill. So I'd had somebody to witch the well where my hand dug the well up here. So, but by going back and forth across the property this way, I found out that from the well to a spot down here, down below me and down the bank and into the lowland, there's an underground stream because there's no water pipes. There's nothing, I haven't put in anything. There's nothing left over from somebody else being here because this was where the house is sitting now was on the edge of the field, but it had been tilled. It was farmland. So there was nothing here, right? So, but under the ground, as walking back and forth, and I know where my pipes are, and I could get the same reading where the, your the wires will cross when you're straight over it, and I'll know that I'm in, that that's the line coming down from the well to the house and everything, and I can go back over here and go, yeah, there's a water line under here, and but where I walk back and forth across the property, there is no water line, but it does. I've walked it, and it ended up in a place down here behind me, in the closer to the swamp and where I dug, and there was water down there. I didn't have to dig long, and there was water that came up. And during the right season, it was like an extra well down there that if I needed it for the garden or for the chickens or whatever, I could just throw a bucket in there. And then I turned it into a duck pond and had ducks in there. And, and when it rains now, what hasn't, it's kind of filled itself in over the years, but it still gets very wet in that spot where at other places it isn't. So, but under the ground are these veins, as the old timers say, and they're just like veins in the body, and that's where the water flows. So, in checking this theory, I was curious, and then when I found out by walking back and forth across the property that there was this underground river, spring, something, and that it down here in the back, in a place where I was sort of digging, the two lined up, and I was like, now that's interesting. So, but anyway, so a lot of interesting stuff for water and ley lines and whatever. And so, why did I say that? Well, for whatever reason, the house is sitting a good portion of it. That underground stream thingy goes under the house. It's on. So there, I put the house over a stream of water. You know, so what's that got to do with anything? Well, but we all know that water is sacred. It's got energy and all that kind of stuff. But I did not plan it that way. I personally walked back and forth across the property. I could have built this 10 foot that away or 10 foot this away. Well, which might have put me actually over it more, but to the point, I could have put this anywhere along the edge of this field. And I just walked around and back and forth. And, it took me a year to get on the property after we bought it. But we'd come down here and camp and everything on the weekends. And, gave me a chance to pick where something would go. We built a little shed down here, which is parts of that shed is still here after all these 35, 36 years. But the underground stream, the house was already pretty much here when somebody said, have you ever checked that? And I went, no, that's a good idea. So when I checked, and I've checked in other places, and, but there's an obvious underground, water something that runs right up, under the house here down to the woods. So anyway, is that why my house has got a high energy that some people have described or whatever? Is it because of the crystals I have? Is it the combination? I could have put where the house is in a lot of different places along here, you know what I mean? But it's here. And then afterwards, I find out there's this water thingy under the house, almost like a ley line. That's like just an added cool that I had not anticipated. Well, I knew about ley lines when I put the house here, and I knew about divining for water, and I knew about those things because I had somebody witch the wells because I was digging it myself, and at 9 foot I hit water. So you trust in the spirit, you trust in the person who's has the gift to feel the water with a stick or however they do it, and then have the faith to dig there. Because I said, you want me to dig here through this hard clay? And they were like, yep, it's down there. And sure enough, so I've had, water over the years. When other people ran completely out, there was always a little bit of water in the bottom of the well. It has never gone completely dry. It might be muddy, and it was muddy a couple of times, and I've gotten down there and had to dig it out. But after digging out some of the mud, the sides will cave in when there's not any water in it, you know. So after years of drought, chunks would just, you know, fall in, and it's good to get down in there to clean it out. But it's so deep you can't do it with just by dropping a pipe or anything in there. But anyway, T-2, T-1 as I'm looking at it now. So I'm going to say 20 with y'all this time around. And anyway, true story, good story. How does it connect us? You know, not just me, but, you know, we pay attention to things, and, you know, critters, whether they, you know, like I said, that snake had no malintent towards me. Yep, Barry. Woo, happy 20. It's 10:20. Well, actually, it's still 19. Oh, I was a minute early. Oh well. I jump started. But anyway, y'all stay at peace, be at peace. There's a lot of craziness out there, and there are some things that some people would be very scared of. Like, you know, my friend was like, run from the snake, because, well, we didn't know. But for me, I was like, well, hang on, don't. Well, she had to go anyway, but to the point of, before you are scared to death, let's make sure there's a reason, right? So, um, and having looked at a snake and all that kind of stuff, so know what, you know, it's nice to know what those things are around you, whether you should be fire in the hole, Dave. So, tip for the day. Um, Regardless of where you live, you should check and find out what your local snakes are. And you say, well, there's none around here. Well, I've been here, you know, 30 something years, 36 years on, you know, with the house and all. And this is the first time I've ever have a snake like that in the yard that I've seen. Okay. So, um, and so you say, well, you know, I've never seen one. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. So today was the observation for me that even after 35 years of being here, never seeing one doesn't mean that they don't exist, or that they don't crawl through when you ain't watching, or you're doing something else and the snake's doing his business and you just missed each other. But the idea that, you know, I know I live here, I live on this swamp, I know there's snakes, you know what I mean? But to have this one do what it did today, just very interesting. But I don't feel threatened in any kind of way. But I do want to make sure I don't want to step on anything in the dark. You know what I mean? Something wiggles beneath your foot or something like that. Nah, and especially, you know, I think I'll at least put my little shoes on, but won't give me too much protection. But um, you know, I'm just too apt to just walk outside and just walk through the grass and over here and go look at the stars or whatever, you know, and just really not pay attention where I'm looking down, because I'm so used to walking out there. There's nothing ever out there. I'm going to look from now on just a little better. All you got to do is just scan. Yeah, I'm going to finish this one up. But anyway, thanks for, you know, coming and hanging out for a little bit. You know, nothing in particular to say, but, you know, for whatever the snake means, you know, maybe um, for me, to wrap this up, is before you get, you know, before you die of fear, make sure that what you're looking at is really evil. And I think it kind of bodes back to one of my other conversations I was having on one of the other videos. And I said, you know, I, someone might have asked the question or something about the aliens or whatever, and I was like, not, not all aliens are bad aliens. There are some that, you know, you would look at and go, oh my God, you know, they're the ones that are going to eat me, and they don't. So, but just like today, just because it was a snake and its body looked like a moccasin, it's a harmless water snake and welcome, because they're non poisonous and keep down rats and mice and all. So, in that respect, other people would have killed it, period. And so, but it's the good guy, you know, it's the good guy wanting to come in the house and visit or take care of the mice. It's the good guy, So don't kill the good guy. Um, that's another lesson to me, because I know so many people. I was tempted because I was like, man, it looks like a freaking moccasin. And then I had to get down and look at it. And a moccasin, I don't think would have laid there that long. They will open their mouth and let you know. And their head's really freaking big. And so this was just not all of that. But anyway. Not all snakes are harmful, you know, and for other people who are scared of things, and do we need to be aware? Yeah. Do we need to be cautious until we know? Yeah. Well, it's not a moccasin. Okay, there are no other real poisonous snakes around here, but there are a lot of rat snakes and king snakes, and but water snakes. Okay, so guess what? Number one, it's not a rattlesnake and it's not a moccasin, two big ones. So we're good to go. It's just a snake then, you know, which doesn't necessarily need to get killed. So snake awareness, in my opinion, is quit killing every damn snake you see, because these folks think it's a water moccasin and it's a brown water snake. Please, we need them. It's important. We don't kill all of that life away. And the other thing is, it should be a lesson. It's always a reminder to me. It's not necessarily a pat on the back as it is like, see, here's another example. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Like for me, the outdoorsman. Oh my God, it looks like a moccasin. Kill it. My instinct back in the day would have been, oh shit, it is a moccasin. That was my first remark today, and I was like, no, but it don't look right. So as soon as I said looks like, my brain was also going, but it ain't right. And that's when I seen the head and the different colors and so forth. And I was, not that I wanted to kill it anyway, but if it had been a moccasin, I probably would have killed it, unfortunately. So I did not want to kill anything, nor do I want to harm anything. That's my rule. But then to have the thing come right between my legs and beat on the door with its nose, that was just so highfalutin and crazy in and of itself. I know I'm repeating myself for the last hour and a half. I'm sorry. But it has just been a really interesting, bizarre little incident. The cat's playing with it in the whole 9 yards. It just keeps playing in my head. So, but anyway. To me, see, I said, it's an affirmation from nature that says, your energy's still good with us, that I'm not a threat. Because for me to be in harmony, to be in balance, is to like have a snake come between your legs and knock on the door to be let in. I mean, like, wow, that's a treat, so. And like I said earlier, just sort of in jest, but not really, like it wanted in the house so bad. I was like, I felt bad because I had to turn it away. I was like, no, this is just not appropriate behavior. I love you, but, So in a big way, I was like, I have to turn this snake. No, I can't let you in the house. And it was like a little puppy scratching at the door. Okay. I mean, it was just like that, except with a snake that I had never seen before. But I will be more aware of it. I've got, some high grass in the back that needs to come down. And it's just, the humidity's just been too bad for me to do some of it. I've been pulling weeds and things and doing some other things, but here lately, like today, the humidity just went. And when you walked outside the door from the house outside, it wasn't hot, but you hit that humid wall. Whew, oh my God. So anyway, but there's my snake stories for the moment. And here's just blessings to y'all, because all kinds of messages and all kinds of things will come your way when you least expect them. So, as I always say, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And they'll show up in all kinds of ways, like snakes knocking at your door. It's going to take me a while to get over this one, obviously. And I think I got stoned. But so in my prayer, because each and every day when I put my 2 feet on the ground, me and Duggar go outside. Even when it's raining, he hates to go outside. Oh my God, he's a chicken. But I continue to pray every time I put my feet on the ground that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. Be aware of stuff that you might step on. And it could be a roller skate in the yard or something. It could be something else, not just a snake, by the way. But anyway, but in that law of three that really is important to me, I can continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all those folks you may come in contact with will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And as my anecdotal thing at the end, continue to reject those things that you find just crazy in your life and stick with the positive. You know, for many people, it's working. They have, I've known some folks who come off with some medicines and they're acting better and being more aware, and praise for all those folks who are looking to do better with their lives. And, you know, they kind of give their lives to the universe because they say, you know, I have to have faith. Yep, give it a try. You know, you can always go back on your meds. But if you find out that you don't need meds to get by anymore, then shouldn't you not take them? So for every person that you know that you may be able to say that to or convey, well, I can't get by without my meds, or I can't get by without of this. You know, if you are brave enough to give it a try, and with a little bit of forethought, maybe whatever was bothering you back then when you were taking these pills to calm you down or whatever. Look, I spent 15 years on these meds, so I know about this. But since I've stopped taking them, I am more clear-headed. I've been talking for the last hour and a half, almost 2 hours now. And yeah, I've been repeating myself because it's just a really cute story and an event today for me. But the other side of the coin, if I was too drugged out and too full of whatever's, that, you know, I wouldn't be able to be coherent. You know what I mean? Even after having a couple of 20s with you, you know, I can still be coherent. I think I am. But to the point, so, and even at my age, you know what I mean? So I'm very lucky. I feel very humble that I'm still here. I'm very happy every day. You know, the closer I get to my birthday, I feel so blessed and happy that I'm just still here. Nothing else, no big fanfare, nothing. I just feel very glad that I've made it, you know, another year, and that I'm still here. And it so far, knock on wood, that I'm as healthy as I am. So, you know, I'm good. And, you know, as long as we can get a day here soon, we still got a week to go, over a week to go. And that the water will come down just enough or stay. Right now, it's about between 6 and 7 feet. I'm sorry, 7 and 8 feet. And would be a good time to go. So if it doesn't get too much higher, we go into the river. I've had a promise from a couple of people around here, and I told them, I said, you know what I want for my birthday? I want to go down the river, and I want somebody to go with me just for the fun of it, right? And so, but anyway, so a friend of mine mentioned something the other day, and he goes, you know, we kind of sort of have a deal. And I was like, well, you know, I know I put that out there 6 months ago in the spring, that maybe hopefully by fall there would be water in the river. Now we've had too much. But that, I wanted to make a river trip, and I just wanted to go have fun, and no big deal, and just, but I wanted to share it with somebody. That's all I want, right? No big deal. Just come on, go with me. That's what I want, right? So he was like, we might be able to arrange that, and me and the wife will go, and we will get somebody else. And I was like, okay, let's just, we'll pick a section of the river, and we'll just go have fun. That's what do you want for your birthday, Dave? That's what I want. I want a bunch of us to go kayaking or whatever and go down the river. That what you mean? You don't? No, don't care about anything else. But that because I want to share it. I want to share the experience. Not necessarily that's my birthday, but the gift would be the time that the people would give to go with me. But it's what I want to share for my birthday is the experience with them, not necessarily with me, but the experience of the river and the thingy. So. Um, yeah, that would be my gift to me for you know. It's not this Friday, but next Friday. But some folks are saying, hey, there's a couple other people around my age that their birthdays like on the 22nd or the 23rd, and that we might get together over that weekend, that Saturday after, on the 25th. And I'm like, that sounds good to me. We'll just, barbecue some chicken out or something, and make some potato salad and sit around the fire or something, okay, if it ain't raining. And maybe go down the river. That sounds like a plan. What do somebody asked me, and I was thinking about it. I was like, I love cake, okay, and I haven't ate cake in a while. So I was thinking, I'm really not into like birthday cake per se, but on my birthday, it would, what would you like for your birthday? Well, my favorite kind of cake, if you were going to pick a cake, what kind, right? Well, I got this one. I like German chocolate cake with coconut on top. Some folks don't like it. There are some other types of cake and stuff that I like, but uh, okie doke. So, but it doesn't have to be that. No, but I don't necessarily want a sheet cake that says happy birthday on it, right? Just a plain old normal round cake would be just fine. But to the point I was like, well, you know, there used to be some bakeries and stuff around. We don't really have that. And some of the stores don't carry baked goods anymore like that, out of stock, and things just aren't the way it used to be. And I'm like, oh, but I could get by without having cake. So, but the more I have thought about that, I didn't really, I don't need cake. The more I want to go into town and buy a cake. So instead of, me convincing myself that I could get by without cake on my birthday, which I can, don't get me wrong. But now I've convinced myself that I really want it. And I'm like, now that just sucks, because my intent was to, to not, well, it's your birthday. You need to have cake and ice cream. Not necessarily, right? So, but the more I've thought about it, I've been like, stop thinking about it. Well, okay. Well, you brought it up. No, you brought it up. Well, no, you brought it up. It's your fault. Now listen here. Oh, and so I'm having this conversation, between my two sides of the brain, having this argument, trying to blame it on one another, and I'm like, it's sort of like, Laurel and Hardy having it. No, it's your fault, or who's on first, who thought of the cake first? Well, you said you could get by without it. No, but you brought it up, so the argument in the head. So I must be, well, maybe I'm not senile because I can actually hear the two sides of the story in the conversation. And, that might make me just a little loony in some ways, but at least I'm coherent with what I mean about it. But, so, okay, old man. Greetings, Isby. Yeah, make it a fat chocolate cake. There's, I can't remember the name of it. There's like 4 or 5 layers, and they're kind of thin layers of the cake. And and there's not a lot of icing. I'm not too much on thick icing, like some of these birthday cakes will have icing, not really into that. I kind of like the same amount of icing all the way around, and the one in the middle, not too thick, because then there's too much icing and it's not really cake to me. Then it becomes icing with a little bit of bread or something. You know what I mean? So I like the good mixture. But anyway, there are some folks in Thomasville who used to bake, and I know several of them are too old or have passed away, but they bake for folks in town. There's a lot of road folks that used to have parties and things, and certain of these ladies were renowned for their baking abilities with certain pies or cakes or something like that. Anyway, so over the years, I've had some absolutely excellent cakes and things, home baked, sure enough. And in my old age, I miss it, not so much as the culinary part of me says, man, it has a good, pineapple upside down cake. Well, it's easy to make. Well, not so much for me, you know. I'm just saying, me and bacon don't get along, but I can cook a lot of stews and things and stuff like that. Bacon has never been on my list of stuff, If you'd have seen me as a Boy Scout try and pass my merit badge for cooking, it was horrible. It was horrendous. You had to take biscuits and wrap it around a stick and Jiffy Mix and a little bit of water, and you made this dough and you wrapped it around a stick and you put it over the fire and you made bread. Oh my God. After the fifth try, my scout leader come over to me and he goes, look, we're not doing this again. You can cook everything else. Just bring biscuits next time. And I went, what? And honest to God. So the next time it came up, and I was like, I was all prepared, had practiced. I always put a little bit too much water in it or whatever it was. I couldn't get it to stick together for it to stick on the stick. And it kept dripping off the stick and falling into the fire. And they were like, I'm not eating that shit, Dave. You know, and to the point, it's like, yeah, well, if I'd have brought a little bit of aluminum foil, I could have baked it on the coals. That would have worked. But we're supposed to put it on a stick, and so. But anyway, as a Boy Scout, I failed my cooking until I brought, uh, uh, buns from the house, kind of thing. As far as the bread was concerned, because it required that you have a bread or something that as far as passing the test. So my Boy Scout masters, they knew how hard I tried, because every time we went camping, I tried to pass the test. So we'd go camping, I'd try to pass. Go camping, try to pass. Go camping, I'd lose again. Hey, Paul, Joe, did I miss anybody? But so anyway, so to this day, I can't really bake anything. All right. And so I just accept it. But other people's baking, yum, 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 yum. Right. So it's like we're coming into the fall. And, one of the things that I miss every year, and I would bake my own, but as far as locally, I'm sure if I went into town to the Walmart or one of the bigger stores, I could find, pie crust. Um, but we used to get it locally, and they haven't had it in a long time. So I could make my own pies, but I don't do dough because that has to do with baking, right? But now I can do a filling into a pie, a pre-prepared pie crust. So I'm good with that. I can do that, right? So, but it's time for sweet potato pie. Pecan season is coming in, so there's going to be nuts. There are nuts on the ground anyway. Like me, I'm a nut on the ground. But bacon. Now, you know what? I watched too many folks die with heart issues, and they love their bacon. Now, this is just for me, and I will just say, try it or not, but The older I got, one of the things, even for my digestive tract, as much as I love the taste of bacon and the combination of bacon with other things, like a cheeseburger or something, bacon or a BLT. Oh my God. I would, back in the day, I would kill for a BLT, good bacon, lettuce, and tomato, honest to God, with, some good mayo on it. And, um, when I watched my pop die of like 96% blockage, and how long he was in the operating thing, and the 2.5 months on a ventilator and then dying, that it's just, and having other people, other family members overweight, and this was their diet. And since I already had issues with grease and stuff, my conversation with spirit was kind of sort of like, it's all right for her to have bacon, but we had bacon all the time. My family up north, they had bacon. Got to have bacon with your breakfast. And no, I just learned not to, right? There were times when bacon was good or bacon was something else. But to the point, though, I would rather had a BLT than bacon with my breakfast. You know what I mean? It's like, I get it. The combination, the taste, yes. But every day, all the time and everything, nope. So I didn't give it up, but I'm slacked way down. And my stomach is better for it because I used to have ulcers and a lot of problems with stomach issues. So I stayed away from those types of greasy things. And, so, um, can I still have it? Yeah. It's not like I took an oath to never have bacon again. No. But when I was up with my brother in Ohio, I was like, man, we were sitting there watching it, and he goes, "How you like your bacon?" I said, "Just keep going." He said, "Maybe." He said, I'll cook it to the way I like it and see if that's good enough for you." And I said, "Go for it," and it was. And I was like, "There you go. We liked our bacon the same way instead of watching him cook it." But to the point though, but I realized that after 3 or 4 pieces of bacon, that fourth piece might have been, at the time, was a little too much for my stomach because I'm not used to having bacon and grease like that, even though it wasn't a lot. So I was like, I know why. Hey Maverick, how are you? So although I love it, and although it's got all these things going for it, me and my body and my long term, I said, I have to just keep this to a minimum, and so, and I've learned to live without BLTs. But if I get a hankering, I'm going to go find some tomatoes and some lettuce and or something, But um, yeah. But anyway, so, but I know some other folks my age that have made decisions about too much bacon or something like that. Like, instead of having it 2 or 3 times a week, it's like once a week. Like maybe on Sunday, you come get back from church and you make up a thing, and you have some bacon, But during the week and whatever, so it's like reserved to one day a week, like a good Sunday brunch, something like that. Anyway. So, what difference does it make? Well, for me, it's made a lot of difference with my stomach, my internal stuff and things, and I don't eat things with much lard or any lard unless it's something that lard was part of how they made it, like mixed in a dough or something. Um, but the biggest oil that I use, or any kind of grease, now if I will buy a steak with fat on it and cook it down in such a way that you get the natural fat out of the beef, as flavoring and whatever. But back in the day, we used to cook bacon and pour the grease off and then use it later on to cook our eggs and other stuff with. I mean, we overdid it with the bacon grease, okay? And so had just decided not to do it that way. And, so far, as I was telling my friend yesterday, no, actually, it was today, I said, I have beat out my grandfather. No, that he made it to like 68, I think. I don't think he made it to 69. So I will have lived past I've already lived past my grandfather. And so it's like, well, okie dokie. So Arno, on the other hand, lived, it was either 72 or 74. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, I know he didn't make it past 75. So I still got a few years for that. So, but, Pops was eating, cracklings, which is nothing but lard and grease and bacon pieces. And oh my God, they're great. And I remember as a kid sitting down and eating cracklings, watching a movie or something in the evenings. And I just, I'm sorry, I'm gonna, like I eat real butter, this margarine and all this fake stuff. I've talked about it before, but here at the end of this little thing, since I'm kind of just rambling on, my brother Serge, that passed away last year, he was a chemist and so forth, and he worked with wastewater treatment plants and drilling for water and all kinds of different things. But there were plants that he had to go to, uh, as far as wastewater and so forth. And he was telling me about the process for hydrogenation to make the to make the fake butter, right? Hydrogenated oil. And he was like, you really don't want to eat that stuff. Oh, but it's, oh, it's just like butter. Oh, no, the hell it ain't. It might taste like it, but if you knew, the process of it and so forth is like, it's really not good for you. So, one of the things that I have done is that I don't have margarine. I have real butter. If you want something, it's real butter. So, but yeah, but it's from a cow and there's all this fat in it. Yeah, but it's natural fat. It's not all this hydrogenated stuff that can cling to your arteries and do these other things. I'm sorry, but if I want it to taste like butter, then it's going to be flipping butter. So sorry, you buy what you want on your toast or bread or however you want to do it. But so for me, it's always been the real butter. That was the other change I made. Staying away from certain processed foods that just are like really too much. Like, I'm not against bacon. I could get it. They sell it bacon at the local store. But I also know with all the trouble that I've had, hey, Johan, with all the trouble I've had with my stomach over the years, certain bacon greases and chicken grease or whatever, there are certain greasy things that that I'll have an upset stomach by the end of the meal kind of thing. So why torture myself if I know it's going to have that effect, right? But anyway, I know some people who will eat it anyway because it tastes good. And so my bacon is reserved for those kind of times. Didn't go well for them as well. I have to been fighting. Yeah, I'm sorry. It really does always suck. Well, over the years, we had real butter and we had margarine too. But, you know, when I learned about different process and having, worked as a machinist and making machines for all different kinds of processes and stuff, I've been in factories, as an engineering tech because they needed drawings of something. And I watched the process and then I'd make drawings or corrections or whatever, and that was paid for the job, but I got the chance to see what the process was. And so for some of this stuff over the years, like the chicken factories and things and what the chickens look like, I've had some baked chicken the other day for the first time in months, that I've had a piece of chicken, and it was brought to me as a here's some. We had a big dinner, and it was a birthday that someone went to, on 9/11. And so they brought me a plate, right? God bless them. And so, but as far as me going to the store and getting chicken, for myself, although I like it, and they're raised all around here, and when every time I see a piece of chicken in the store, I go, nah, I just don't want to do it. Same thing with pork sometimes, because I used to work on a hog farm, and you looked at their little faces and everything, and it was like, I can't eat you, and I can't eat your kind anymore. And so I went from like bacon all the time to like didn't eat pork for a while because I was working on this hog farms where castrated them and did the thing, and and fed them on the thing, and then off to the market, the whole 9 yards. It was part of my job at working on the farm. But I really didn't like it. I was like, no. My brother worked on a really big hog operation just outside of Moultrie, and I mean like hundreds of hogs, and in the end thousands, because they get little piglets and then they get separated and fed and all that. I think we're going to go to Survive. My daughter's been taking care of us. Good, Paul Joe. Well, for what it's worth, Paul Joe and her family, please make sure this positive energy and healing gets to her and her family. There you go. Cut some lemons, put them in water, peel and all. Add some honey only after it cools a bit. There was a doctor saying it helped. He got thrown in jail. Also, by the way, there have been those vitamins and things. Now, um, way back 2 years ago, when they started with this, there were people that were saying if you will take extra doses of vitamin D3, not just the D, but the D3, you took extra dose of a vitamin, a good, honest to God, B complex, B12, B6, B1, a good one, twice a day instead of once a day. Make sure it's the kind that will dissolve. L-lysine, twice a day, one in the morning, one in the evening. And whatever it was doing, L-lysine, along with, there was something else that was very natural. I think it had something to do with clove, because clove has its own healing and thing. And so, but doses of honey, and the really good honey, make sure it's not the syrup, but if that's all you got, then that's better than nothing. But that honey mixed with some lemon, with a little bit of water and tea, and mixed in, and drink that brew is good for what ails you. And it will definitely help. So with symptoms and other things. Now, it might make you sweat, but sometimes, for Native Americans, if you've got a toxin in you, now not all of them felt this way, but a bunch, right? So you went to the sweat lodge. Now, if you were so sick that you couldn't walk or whatever, that was different. But if you were feeling kind of funky and your chest was full, then you went to the sweat lodge, and it was hot. You pour water on the stones, and it was steam, and you could cough up anything that was in your lungs, and you would sweat out the sickness. And then afterwards, it was like, a lot of times, uh, um, it would knock it right out of you. You would literally sweat it out. Well, back in the day when we had a cold or whatever, my granny, when I was growing up in the 60s, they'd wrap you up real tight to where you were sweating to death. And they would give you a hot toddy, which was a shot of whiskey, some lemon juice and water, and a little bit of honey. And it was the hot toddy when it's a little like, the glass about a little shot glass about this big. It wasn't a little shot glass, a little bigger. And they would hear drink this, and it was warm, and you could smell the vapors and everything. And after a while, they'd go, here, drink this. And I'd go, no, I don't want it. And after a while, I was like, okay, because it really did make you feel better. And, Granny's the one that got me hooked on being an alcoholic. No, I'm kidding. But that was the first time I ever had alcohol like that. So, but to the point, did it help? Absolutely. Got to get a 12 by 12 inverter to run my laptop. Isby, I don't know if we talked about it before. I think I did, about inverters, but I've talked about it for other people too. The inverters that you buy these days, you have to be very careful because the capacitors will blow out on them. You got to buy one that's 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 times more than what you ever think you'll need to draw on it. And the reason is because the capacitors that they use in these things, and I've studied this over the years with folks who do electrical repairs and stuff like that. And I've got a couple of these things that have blown upstairs, and then checking in the, it's all the capacitors are blown because they use the cheap capacitors to make the whole unit cheap. But if the capacitors overheat just a little bit, they're fried. And yes, they're to code, but barely, So, but if you buy one that's got um, um, heavier duty capacitors, which is one of the main items in these things that I found. They've got some other transformers and things, but there's a bank of capacitors in every one of them, no matter how big or small these inverters are. And so the bigger the capacitor, regardless of how you're using it, they won't overheat and blow out as quick. So learned that a long time ago. So you say, well, I'm never going to use 100 watts. No, buy the 500-watt one. But I'm never going to use it. Yeah, because the capacitors are going to be bigger naturally, and in order for you to be able to, instead of 100 watts, you're going to use 500. See, so they're going to be bigger right off the bat, and it will last longer. So if you only use 250, if you only use 250 watts of a 500 watt, then your chances of the inverter blowing out and those capacitors are going to drop way down. So if you're going to get an inverter, always get a lot more than you need because it will save you in the long run. I know people who have bought 3 of them in 1 year. And it was like, but it's this, and yeah, but you're trying to run a this and a that, and and burn out. So I've got 2 carcasses upstairs from other people to say, see if you can fix this. So I've taken them apart and looked at them, checked on them, and that kind of thing. So, and then followed through with folks who work on them, and they go, if you're going to fix this, then put in heavier duty capacitors. Don't go with these cheap ones. Go with the heavier duty ones. They'll last longer. So, but anyway, that's my 10 cents on that. But honest to God, you have to have a 500 one. I'll get an 800 watt then. At least a 5, Isby. And here's the thing. Before you buy the inverter or converter, make sure that the type you're going to buy, check online to see how many people say this one sucks. Or, is it a 3-star? Maybe you should look for a 4-star. That extra star might cost you a little more, but that extra star might also save your ass in buying another one. You know what I'm saying? And having been around the carnival and stuff, and folks that I know over the years, you never think you're going to use it, and then sometimes there's a power surge or something. Just something weird happens, and there are faulty capacitors in this world, but it's always better to get bigger ones. But so if you don't have a 500 watt, there are some like 200 watt, 300 watts, but you need at least 500 for a bare minimum, and 8 would be better. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing with any inverter, if you don't need to plug it in, unplug it. Use it only when you really need it. Don't leave it. I'm not saying that, Isby, that you are, but as a general rule. So it's like people will say, well, I got it plugged in. It ain't hurting to unplug it. Okay. Well, it's not drawing any, unplug it because it stays hot inside, So unplug it. And I mean, unplug it. Don't just turn it off, but unplug it. If it's plugged into the cigarette lighter kind of thing, unplug it from the source. Man, I'm still hanging out with y'all showing up here. Yeah, garlic and French onion soup. Yes, garlic all the time. I've talked about this before, but not necessarily as like a cure-all. But maybe in one of the things that, I stay fairly healthy with is that, at the Dollar General, They sell these bottles, that are about yay big around and so tall, you know, with crushed garlic. And there's, the juice and the crushed garlic and everything in there. It's for $1. And so I will take it, and if I'm having a sandwich, I'll sprinkle a little bit fresh garlic on my sandwich along with some cheese and some mustard or whatever, and yum, yum, here we go. Or if I'm, baking something, a piece of meat or something, so a steak or whatever, then I take a large helping of that garlic and put it, over the top of it, and let it sear in good, flip it and, and cook it in and get it caramelized, And so I eat a lot of garlic that way. I will even take some garlic in and mix it in with scrambled eggs. And it's more my kind of scrambled eggs, kind of strange, but I'll add a little bit of this. I'll add a little bit of sage, and maybe just a little sprinkling of thyme and some salt, a little bit of salt, not too much salt, and some black pepper, and maybe just a couple of dashes of hot sauce as I'm scrambling up the eggs to get the mix in there good. Um, but anyway, different tastes for different folks. But so anyway, I said my prayer, 30 minutes ago, and now, I haven't had supper yet, and this was just supposed to get it on here and say hi to you all, and I've been here for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm almost coming up on a 20, but I got to get up and go. So I love you all. I do continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings and adventures from the universe. Every day is an adventure. Keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that, you may have walked the same path every time and never come across a snake or a critter or anything. Today was that there's one sitting outside my front door wanting to get in, So, lived here all these years. This has never happened. So you say, well, it could never happen. And then it does. So in this universe, you say, well, maybe, and I said this in a video yesterday or the other day, whatever it was, and that we can say that, well, am I sure it would never happen? No. Could it happen? And the answer is, yeah. Will it happen? Don't know. So of all these years of not having a snake in my front yard, I said, I've never had a snake in front of yard. I don't think I ever will. And then out of the blue, there is one. And you go, Well, so see, things happen like that. Seeing deer standing in the yard, which I'm not used to seeing them stand on the edge of the field in the yard kind of thing. Different things that, just around. So it's just interesting that in my lifetime that I've been able to, see nature, and that nature comes. And as I was said 2 hours ago, I feel humbled and blessed because of the synchronicity. And when things like this happen, it's like, I hate to use the word pat on the back or the phrase, and it's not like getting a star. It's an affirmation, keep up the good work, Hawkeye. Here's an animal that came to you for whatever reason, didn't harm you, et cetera, et cetera. That's a good thing. And it's a shaman in training who tries to have a frequency, of balance. So I guess so these kinds of things can happen. And having seen, owls and hawks and, and beavers and otters, in my ceremonies and other places and stuff over the years. And you just go, there's got, I know there's stuff to it. But so it's an affirmation that, okay, if I was a scary, nasty energy, it would have just run from me, but it didn't. So I got a black bear who likes to visit my plum trees. Seriously? Yep. But anyway, so with love to all y'all out there, thanks for hanging out with me. Like I said, I was just going to tell a story for 20 minutes and I'm still here 2 hours and 20 minutes later, right? But I'm out of stuff. I haven't had supper, and I really have been sitting here in this position too long. So I said my prayers, and my well wishes to everyone. So please be safe. Watch while you're stuff. And as I said before, but to help close out on, folks down here in the South are killing these, uh, brown river snakes, thinking that they're moccasins, where they look like them in the back, like I noticed today, but they're not. And it's against the law in the state of Georgia to kill any kind of snake, they say. I didn't know if moccasins was on the list, but, you know, but these snakes resemble a moccasin, but they're not. And so for any folks that you might know, they say, well, I killed a snake. You got to say, listen, you're not supposed to kill snakes. I don't know about your particular state, but if you're from Georgia, it's against the law. So, know your local wildlife just before you go. And since, snakes have their value, a lot of people don't understand that. So, snakes have their value. And if there's one around, it's not trying to hurt you or anything and runs when you come up to it, kind of stuff, poke stick at it, but don't poke a stick at it, observe it, watch it, keep an eye on it, and then if you don't hurt it, it won't ever hurt you. If you piss one off, then it will forever remember, that when it was near this spot, this person pissed me off, poked a stick at me. So be careful. You too, Witch Moon. Have a great night. Yeah, same to you, it'd be. Yeah, thanks for the chat too, y'all. It's been good to hang out with you, but I got to go see what the rain's like outside, and I got to feed the cats and do that kind of stuff. So, anyway, a short story turned into 3 hours. You know me, and we're coming up on a 20. So, it's 11:10. So we're 10 minutes early. But for any of you that might have one, I'm going to do a 20 early simply because I got the bowl already packed. And wish you all good luck for, is this Thursday? Right. So have a good Friday. One of the things that I learned about the snake knocking on the door today was that, as he come barreling ass at me from the yard, right, from the cats playing with his tail, and kind of sort of chased him my direction, but he could have went in any direction, is the point I made way earlier. So here comes this snake straight at me. What the hell am I going to do with this snake, right? So I didn't panic. You just fried chicken thighs? See, now I like chicken thighs. I just got to say, and Miss Pearl, I bet they're good. I bet your fried chicken is good. I bet I just know it does. I can smell it cooking from here, darling. What you having with it, Pearl? Honestly, what you having with it? I can't wait for it to get cold enough to have collard greens again. It's just wrong time to have collard greens, but man, I can't wait to have some collards. You bury your brother tomorrow. Well, prayers be with you, Isby. And of course, you already know this, but you're just putting his body to rest. His spirit is someplace else. So, having had to bury quite a few people in my lifetime, and many close friends and death and so forth, and family members and mothers and fathers, and aunts and uncles and that kind of thing. And it's not that you get used to death, but in a way you do, in that you're still sad no matter what, whoever that person is. And many times it's very hard to hold back the tears because, you really loved them, and you're going to miss them in this life, but, can't change it. It's already done. So the best we can do is remember them and keep our faith and our connection and our love that we had for that person alive in this world, right? By hanging their picture up, and by, and keeping them, I'm always talking about my grandma Mary, and my grandma Raleigh, the same person. But I'm always talking about her in that, to keep her memory alive and to keep her energy alive and that kind of thing. So, but as much of it as it is, and I know Isby, but just know that for my prayers that will continue to, I'm sending them out, and for everybody that. Yeah, good, Pearl. And I would, for whatever my 2 cents is, I would say the same thing. Because when anytime you do something like this, regardless of the situation, and it might not be at this time or that time, but like when you bury him or put him in the ground or the ceremony, whatever. But at some point, I would agree with you, Pearl. That don't try to hear him. He will. Yeah, they're telling me now. Yeah, don't try to hear him. Just be open to hear him. And and the other thing they're telling me is to listen. Don't try to just listen. That's the other thing they're saying. But anyway, I didn't give up. Pearl, you brought it up now, but I would agree with you. So, but anyway, we send our love and blessings to Isby and to your family and everybody. Well, and this won't be the last either, but there's something about the ceremony and the placing and the something. It's not necessarily the finality of it, but it kind of sort of is a closing of sorts. So, however and whatever it means, and it means something different to everybody. But that in the closing of it, so he's dead. We couldn't bury Pops in a couple of days because there were folks up north that wanted to come down and who did. So we had to be kind, and he had to rest a little while longer before we buried him, which there was nothing wrong with that. So we all agreed, that we don't have to bury him right away, that, we can wait. And that, the nurse, not the nursing home, but the mortuary and everything, they understood, that people wanted to come and all this kind of stuff. So, with that said, um, sort of when you set the date for when the final day is going to be. So he's in the mortuary. You can go see him because, visit, you can, whatever. And so there, for us that were there around him, it was kind of sort of long and drawn out because we had to wait on everybody else to get there, right, for the funeral services and for the burial itself. So by the end of those few days waiting on the rest of the family to come in, we'd kind of had enough. Not to be rude, but it was like, okay, you've cried enough. You've had all these conversations. You remember this and that. We've had conversations, right? But then when the rest of the family gets there and you do that final thing, there's just something about it. Whether or not it's closure, but there's something about that finality of we've had the service, whatever it is, whether they're in a casket or a jar or whatever. Um, that's it. That's it. We've had the service. So it doesn't mean that they're gone, but we've had the service. And after the service is like, okay. So whatever it is before the service, it's different after the service. It just is. So, but anyway, for whatever that flipping means to anybody out there, it's an observation, having been there too many times. And, the older I get, I'm sure there's going to be some other folks that are going to pass before me if I don't go before them. But, not looking for, to be dead anytime soon. But he was cremated. Oh, well, then. So you're going to bury his ashes or put him in a tomb, or I'm being nosy, or are you just going to, take him and do the spreading thing or whatever? I'm being nosy, Isby. You brought it up. Oh, sorry, you brought it up. So now I'm being nosy. Tell me to shut up. It's okay. I was not going to hang around for another 20, but now that we're here, I might have one more hit in this bowl. Yeah, because it's 11:18. What the hell? It's worth a stir. He was buried in the Veterans Cemetery. I got you. Yeah, my brother could be buried there, but my pops, he was in the Navy, but between World War II, between World War II and the Korean War, so he got out because when I was born and so forth, so he was already out of the Navy by the time I was born in '52, and that's when the Korean War was just getting heated up good, right? So, but anyway, I'm going to hit this a little early. It's almost gone. And I'm almost gone. Well, having been a veteran, my pops and them bought property in the cemetery when my grandfather died on the Raleigh side. So he died in '63 or '4, around the time President Kennedy was shot and all that. I remember there was a connection in there about the same time, but they say it was more about 1964 that he passed away. So, but anyway, but much earlier than my grandma, and who passed away in the '80s. So, but so when he passed away, they bought a double lot. So as part of, I sold cemetery property at one time, but that's always a wise decision. So way back then, they brought cemetery property, 2 plots near Grandma and Grandpa, and also near some other folks that bought in the same area. So they all decided, what the hell, we've been friends all these years, and we're friends for much more. That they bought up plots in the same area and Memorial Gardens there in Tampa. And so, it's all the, flat markers, but we had to wait on the veterans because he was in the Navy, and he was a veteran. So we had to wait on his marker to come in with a special, little flag on it kind of thing saying that he was a veteran. But other than that, he got planted next to Mom. And then Grandma and Grandpa were just right over here. And then these family members were right over here. And, so, but I have no intentions of going down to Florida and being buried near them because I don't live down there. And, some of them folks try to give me away and do nasty things to me and treat me badly. And why the hell do I want to get buried next to them? But in having conversation with some folks around here, there's a little slice of property at the top of my hill that is like really useless. And I could honestly, I need to get in touch with the county. But if I designate it as a burial plot for the family, I'm going to get planted at the top of the hill. I own the property. Why not? So I can mark off a place. But it's also near where my neighbor found all of these broadhead swords, all these flint knives and blades and arrowheads and all this. So I've had this connection to this for a long time. So it's like, why get buried anyplace else? It really wouldn't matter. I don't have any family members that are probably going to get buried next to me, but so why not get myself planted right up here at the top of the hill next to where there was obviously a Native American burial a long time ago. And I feel that somehow I'm connected to it. Don't know how, but why go anywhere else? I've lived here all my life. Why not just get planted here? You know, And, so pick a place up there at the top of the hill, and this is where Dave's, remains are going to go, no big deal. So, but anyway, I have to look into that as far as, getting in touch with the county and all that kind of thing to, signify, sometimes you have to have so many acres. Like you can't have a family plot on a half an acre of property. They're like, nah. So I know there's a certain minimum amount of property that you could designate as a family burial. Um, and I probably qualified because, I got on 18 and a half acres. So, and there's plenty of room up there by the road that, would piss off the neighbors that if I had a graves, a headstone up there, here lies an old hippie, what the hell would I put on it? Do I even want a stone up there, or maybe just a cross or something? I mean, I don't know. I'm not really into frivolous, to things, but as far as a headstone, I guess I would want a marker simply because somebody wouldn't come along and just plow me up. It'd be more out of respect and that there's somebody down here than it is to be in recognition to the world. And who's planted over here? Um, but anyway, I designed my own headstone just to have some kind of phrase or something. Here lies, David Null, David W. Null, David Wayne, whatever, uh, um, AKA Hawkeye Two Feathers. Hippie, outdoorsman, adventurer, shaman in training, uh, you know, and uh, and nature lover, just something like that. This marks where he's buried. Please don't dig me up. Something like that. Like what? I'm down here. Please don't dig me up. But this is who I was, and here I am, and nothing in particular. But anyway, so, but I've also thought about the cremation thing too, where you don't have to worry about the burial. And somebody could just dig a post hole take a post hole diggers and just dig a post hole dig, and dump me in and put the dirt back in. And wouldn't that mean the same thing? And would it really matter then if I got plowed up at some point? It's like, because I'm right by the road and everything up there where I'm talking about. So would that really matter? But here's the thing: it's the cost of the cremation. You can get a backhoe and plant me for next to nothing versus the cost of cremation and the transport and all that kind of stuff. Don't care about an urn. So, and these are the kind of things though that I seriously, I'm talking about them now, but there's other folks that are dying, or I say around me, but that are younger I am, you know, my family had this stuff took care of back in their 30s and 40s. And although I've contemplated and discussed it, I still haven't done anything about it. So, but at this point, having had conversation with some other people, and my good friend Marcia passing away a couple months ago, she didn't own any property to be, planted on. I do. And so it's like, so I think all I need to do is just get the right permits and so forth and say, okay, on this corner of this piece of property, there's going to be a cemetery right here. And I take it into the county and I show them on the map and I go, right here is going to be, that's where I want to, that's where I want to be buried. It's not good for anything. There's a power line overhead. It's not big enough to put a trailer on. There's no place for a yard. It's just this little sliver of land up there. And it's really not good for anything, honestly. Because it's there's power line overhead and because it's so close to the road and so forth. Anyway, but it is part of this place, so why not plant me there? So, but anyway, so with love to all of you, I'm gonna go make me some dinner. Pearl's got fried chicken on, and I can smell it from here. and that just made me hungry. So I love y'all. Be safe. And for whatever we have to do, it's, there are snakes in the grass. This is sort of one of my, almost 3 hours now. But the idea of there are snakes in the grass all the time, out there in the world, there, well, you go out into the world, there are snakes out there trying to get you, snakes in the grass. And yeah, okay. And you too, Pearl, cosmic hugs back to you. But the snakes in the grass. So like today, it keeps reminding me though, there was a snake in the grass, but it wasn't harmful. We checked with it. We did, and what turned out to be a rather funny event for me, maybe it was, traumatic for the snake. I'm not sure, but like I said, 2 hours ago, that look that snake gave me when it was knocking on the door with its nose was just like in desperation. Please, Jesus, let me in. And I felt sorry for the snake, but I had to turn it away. But anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it because it did happen that way today. So, to me, it is a blessing. There's a story, it's an experience. It's something to share with you, but it's also something for me to, it's something for me to giggle at it. But I honestly, I wanted to get the camera so bad, but I knew I didn't have a memory chip in it. And if I'd have stopped to try to get the chip, the whole incident would have went bye. So I couldn't even have explained it to you. But anyway, it was a really good hoot. And let your imaginations roll with my, my description of the incident. So have a very blessed day. Tomorrow's Friday, so TGIF day, right, guys and gals? The weekend's coming up, so take advantage of it. It's going to be in the 80s here instead of the 90s, but the humidity is going to be up, and we got rain showers. So, but if it's not going to be a full out rain out day, and you can, deal with a shower or two, and got an umbrella or a place to get under the shelter, by all means, have a good time. It's the end of summer and the beginning of fall. Next week is the autumnal equinox, and my birthday. But most of all, fall's coming, and that's what's important. Cool weather's coming on us, and man, I'm beyond waiting. I'm like, come on, we're here now. So many blessings to all of you. Keep up the good work that you're doing, and if a snake comes your way, think before you kill it. For those folks who are always terrified, just because it's a snake doesn't mean that it's bad, mean, wicked, or nasty, or attached to some kind of evil or something. Please don't go there. Give the poor thing a break, and give it the opportunity to show who it really is. Like this snake today, it was like, if you take a look at me, I ain't gonna hurt you. Was sort of the way I was looking at it. Like, if you ain't a moccasin, I ain't gonna hurt you. So, but anyway, maybe they'll come knocking on your door and ask to come in and stay. So, but I think that when wildlife wants to be near you without harming you, that's got to be an open blessing right there. Like, whatever I'm doing, I must be doing right. That's all. Doesn't mean whatever. Am I getting points or I don't? It's just an affirmation to me that, wow, wild critters act like this around me. Ain't that something, Because see, as a child, I grew up in the Catholic Church, as most of you know, and one of my favorite saints was Saint Francis, not this crazy guy that claims to be Pope, but that animals talked with him, and he had birds on his shoulder, and that he blessed the farm animals and chickens and goats and cows, and he let the farm animals into the church, and and the Vatican was pissed at him, right? So, but I always admired Saint Francis for that. So, in my emulations of what could I be in life years ago, I wanted to be a priest, and I wanted to be like Saint Francis. So, I've not tried to emulate Saint Francis, but later on in my life, I've got snakes that crawl up. I've got these other animals that come close. I've had these other animal experiences. So I look at it and go, I am kind of sort of like St. Francis, although I don't try to emulate him, but because of frequency, because of my own love for nature, because of my respect. And, for me, it's that law of one, do no harm. So I wasn't about to harm this snake today um, until I knew for positive that it wasn't, unless it was a real moccasin, then I'd had to argue with it. But it wasn't, and it went on by, and I had the experience. And so we shouldn't just go flying off the handle, just because we see a snake. But so it continues to teach me, and I'm humbled by the whole affair. I mean, it's like, what? It ran to me for help, for God's sakes. Hey, CD, how are you? I'm fixing to get out of here, CD, because what started out as a 30-minute, maybe 45, it's been 2 hours and 50 minutes, and I want to have supper and get something else to drink and that kind of thing. So, but I'm very gracious that you come in and holler and oh, I missed it, didn't I? Well, I kind of hit it early. But anyway, I got to get up and move around and do some other stuff. But thanks, CD, for coming in. Do you know who Saint Martha the Dominator is, Hawkeye? She's one of my spirit guides. Saint Martha the Dominator. No, Pearl, I don't. I have not heard. Martha sounds like a whip. Yeah. Yeah, but no, we love you, CD. And, I don't, this evening wasn't planned. And every time somebody comes on, I hang out a little longer, but I really do want to have supper. And I really have been sitting in the same position and I got to get up and move around because I'm old and I'm out of something to drink and the whole 9 yards. But I do love you. And I'm not, jumping out because you got on. I honestly, I need to move around a bit, and especially at my age. And I look back over the last couple of times I was on. I've been doing 4 and 5 hours and overwards, and it's like I've told folks. I say, well, what'd you do yesterday? Well, I didn't get anything done around the house, and I think, well, yeah, but you did 5 hours on a live stream. Yeah, well, that don't really count. Well, but then it really does because, at the end of it, I feel good because I've had a chance to hang out with y'all and everything. And, when folks come in, we chat, we talk, now that, well, the subject is still about the snake tonight and everything and the experience, but, just a free form, hey, what's going on kind of thing. But, you know, I love the idea of being able to share our energy. So when you come on and say, hey, everybody, you're included in the energy. It's, you don't have to it's not like you're announcing, oh, I'm here now, I'm joining, but you're letting us know that, hey, I'm here, gang, and we already accept you. That's not coming out right. I messed that up. Everybody's welcome. But for me, it's good to, see whether you stay in the chat or not. If you come in and you go, hey, everybody, that to me is such a blessing. So, but at the same time, I'm like sitting here. Yeah, I want to go get something to eat. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah. But at the same time, I really don't want to go because I'm, hanging out with y'all. But it's more that I got a butt cramp. If you want to know the truth, Maverick, I wasn't going to go into the butt cramp thing. But Michelle, you you remember the way the butt cramp boogie? I never did finish that song. It's somewhere around here. But so much craziness. I know that there are times when I get on these tangents and having chats with some other folks, and I was like, I go into this, what some folks would call, well, like my sleeping habits. sleeping too much, and okay, I'm off in the dream world. But it seems like there's stuff that's just out there when I get back. Yeah, it's butt cramp o'clock. You can bet your butt on that. Let me tell you. But so in having my conversations with other folks, folks that have been taking medicines for a long time, I go, look, what do you got to lose? You're retired now. You don't have to be anywhere. And so do you have to take those kind of meds that you did when you worked around people and the stress and, maybe just eating some cannabis, something will help you relax to where you don't need these high, powerful, mood swinging kind of drugs. Maybe, so there are folks in all different forms and places out there that are stopping to think, well, you know what? That just might be true. And many folks are finding out that they don't need those drugs anymore. And for some of these folks that I know and that I've heard, they sound better. Their conversations are better. Uh, but anyway, so if you know anybody that, can afford to, think twice about staying on whatever mood swing drugs they're on, and I was on them for over 15 years. So, I'm a pro at this, or was, but, I still have my issues with my brain, but I've got over 20 head concussions. I mean, knock me out, see stars, you know, and sometimes even a personality change. You get hit hard enough in certain parts of your head. But to the point, though, the fact that I'm not a drooling mass of craziness. I have my moments and I have my time. But there's also times of lucidness. So, that's why I try to tell folks that, don't give up on life. You might have a crappy day here and there, but hey, tomorrow you could wake up and feel like $1,000,000 and the weather's just right and the river's just right. And the dog says, let's go. And you go to the river and go kayaking or whatever that favorite thing is that you do. So, but when we give in and give up and go, well, life's no good anymore. And I just don't know if I can make it. And why should I keep on living? It's because tomorrow just might be a totally different day. Tomorrow just might bring something to you like snakes in the front yard after 35 years of never see, you know what I mean? And you just never know. So you say, well, it'll never happen to me. And then it just shows up on your doorstep, whether it be a snake, but to the point that you say, well, it can't happen. Well, that will never happen. Well, I don't know. But then it does. And then you go, So can things happen in the world? Yes. And do you think they're going to happen? No. After all these years and no snake at the door, I'm like, I'm groovy, So I take for granted that it would never happen. Then it happens, right? So CD, the cats were playing with a snake in the yard. It looked like a moccasin, but it's a brown water snake that's down here in South Georgia and other places too. But the cat's playing with the snake. The snake jumped and then ran from the two cats playing with it in the yard. It's about a 3.5, 4 foot snake, maybe 4. I'm trying not to overdo it with the size. But this snake crawled right straight at me, standing at the back door. And literally with its nose, I'm standing down with my legs spread, and the snake is between my legs, pecking at the door with its nose, like, let me in. And I'm looking down at the snake going, what? And it looks up at me like, please, Jesus, let me in. And I got a spray bottle in my hand that that has soap water in it, and that I spray around when mosquitoes are around, because the soap water gets on their wings and they drop down and they can't fly and they can't eat me or the cat. So, but anyway, so I got one of the spray bottle in my hand, just keep the mosquitoes off of me, and up comes this snake. And I used this bottle and I put it down on the ground to just keep the snake from like, here, go this way, And it looked up and peck on the door again. I looked at it and go, come on, I really can't let you in. This is not appropriate. And then finally the snake went around the corner of the house. But so, that's the story I told, 2.5 hours ago. But anyway, but it's the true story. That's the very short version. But in that, though, it could have went a lot of other ways. It could have been a poisonous snake, but the fact that the snake was literally knocking on the door to let me, to get in, that was what was the really biggie. but also what I've said, when this is over, go back through and watch part of it again. But anyway, so Ed, CD, Isby, Maverick again, Michelle, as always, much love. So I am going to get up because of the butt cramp. But so it's just, every day is an adventure if you allow it to be. So, where I was like, oh my God, it's raining again. Come on, Duggar. Well, you don't want to go out. It's raining again. Man, 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 it's raining again. Okay. But, it's still a day. There's still something you can do, even if it's just to go out and sit and watch it rain. So, but anyway, oh, and Miss Pearl, you too. So I love you all. Be safe. And I really am going this time. I ain't waiting for no more time. Oh, it's almost 3 hours, though. 3 hour mark. So, from South Georgia, it is 11:44 p.m. this Thursday. It's almost Friday. I want to say much love to you, y'all. Cosmic hugs. Remember to always be kind, considerate, and conscious of other folks. Remember that you have the power to accept and receive. You also have the power to reject those crazy things that people want you to accept. So just stay in control, be humble about it, and we'll muddle through. We've made it this far. So CD, until next time, Michelle, always and everybody. So from South Georgia, we say Ween. We don't forget about that. We say thank you, Bob, back out there, the AI that keeps up with all of us. We say thank you to the Great Spirit and to all the energy in the universe and to all those beings and entities that are trying to help us out. We thank them too. We have to just look up at the world and go, thank you all. I know there's folks out there that are helping us. Just thank you. Any way I can help, just say thank you. It's to know God. But we can just look up at the sky and say thank you. It doesn't hurt, without worship, just say thank you to the universe for the things we have. And oh my God, it could be worse. So Ween, TTFN, Tata for now from Southwest Georgia. Hawkeye Two Feathers saying, cheers, everybody. Be safe. Okay. Eyes to the sky and a smile. And keep your eyes for whatever might be on the ground, too. Till next time, bye.